We here at Bit Harmony pride ourselves on 4 basic tenets to provide you, dear listener, with not only the maximum legal limit of sweet, sweet video game music, but also a trust in us, your humble hosts. I'm here today to reveal the Bit Harmony secret herbs and spices. You may be deceived if you trust too much, but you will live in torment if you don't trust enough.
If that were true, like you're just watching your grandfather, like, eat flies.
Love is love, no matter what anyone tries to tell you.
Don't take that as I had a crush on my cousin, but I'm just saying...
Fiddle and witchcraft, black magic, and general voodooery, only when absolutely necessary.
No, they didn't shrink his head, but the point is that, like...
And lastly, there will never, ever, there will never be a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 episode. Enjoy the program.
You're listening to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast, and I'm Matt.
And I'm Seth. I'm ready to go on the great journey today, Matt.
Is that a Halo 2 reference?
Yeah, that's what the Covenant call, like, their whole, like, you know, whenever they ignite Halo, and, you know, that's the great journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll let it be known ahead of time. I've played Halo. I think I've played all the way through Halo 1 and 2 campaigns, but that was over 20 years ago at this point.
Sure.
And it was in co-op. That's the thing, like, they're great co-op games, but the way my brain works, I don't absorb information playing a game with my buddy on the couch as opposed to just playing it by myself in, like, a sweaty basement, you know? Like, I liked what I saw and read and understood of the lore in Halo, but none of it stuck with me beyond, like, finish the fight and whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, it's a good thing you have me here, because I was way into this game. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and it still is, and it's very special, and I love it a lot. So I'm excited.
I mean, yeah, I have a lot of good memories of Halo 2. I think this will be fun. I was also just now thinking about like you saying, it's a good thing you're here. It would have been funny if you couldn't do this podcast last minute or something, and then, like, I brought my wife on again, who's never played Halo, and then we just tried to talk about Halo 2. But
that'd be sick, actually.
It would probably be pretty good. We'll have to look into doing something like that in the future. That'd be pretty funny. Anyway, if you couldn't tell, our episode, I almost said this week, our episode is Halo 2, the seminal work, considered one of the greatest games of all time. But first, our intro to this episode is Heretic Hero. This was composed by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori. It's very funny seeing in all these official credits Martin O'Donnell, because I have only ever known him as Marty O'Donnell. Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird.
Anyway, that is Heretic Hero, and we will be back. And that was Heretic Hero by, I don't know, like school teacher Martin O'Donnell. It sounds like
Mr. Martin.
Mr. O'Donnell. He's like the cool teacher. I shouldn't say that. He's not a cool guy. But the name Mr. O'Donnell, that sounds like what the cool teacher would be. Like he lets you read like Goosebumps for your book reports or something. Like that's that's the kind of name that is. But let me make clear right off the bat. We'll probably talk about this later. We do not endorse basically anything Martin O'Donnell related besides the music.
Right. We'll get into it. Very talented composer who has made some incredible video game soundtracks. You're going to hear a lot of that today, but not a good person. We'll get into that. Also, Michael Salvatori, his longtime collaborator, who wrote, co-wrote a lot of this music, also kind of sounds like a substitute teacher. Mr. Salvatori could be like his substitute teacher. That kind of sounds like that.
Yeah, that's true. This is completely unrelated. It's fine. I just remember in high school, one time we had a substitute teacher for our chemistry class. And that was my first period class, junior year of high school. And I came in, and my lab partner, he goes, "Hey, doesn't the substitute teacher look like Dino Spumoni?" And I looked up Dino Spumoni from Hey Arnold, like he's like the Frank Sinatra stand-in. Yeah, he did look like Dino Spumoni. He was totally right. I just was never expecting to walk into my high school chemistry class and be confronted with the sentence, "Hey, doesn't the substitute teacher look like Dino Spumoni?"
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a very funny. Yeah, there's something about like and I think we actually both have kind of stories about Halo 2 being worked into like the classroom setting. Weirdly enough, so that's maybe a little bit appropriate, actually.
maybe, yeah, like 4 steps removed or something. Anyway, Heretic Hero. This is honestly one of my favorites. Just as a heads up, Seth picked all the songs for this episode. Just made sense. So it was nice for me just getting to hear a bunch of stuff that I've probably heard all of these before, but I just didn't remember most of them. This is one of my favorites that you picked out for this episode. I just loved it. It really starts off sounding like it's going to be like it's from like a Rareware game in like the 90s. It sounds like a GoldenEye song or something with that like very echoey banging, but then like the low groans that come in a little bit afterwards, mixing in with the industrial. It's like it starts off like the Donkey Kong Country 3 factory levels, and then it starts turning into something else.
Yeah. This is definitely. I wanted to open the episode with this because this is kind of like the Halo 2 song for me. This is the song that kind of like really, I don't know, like it kind of, I guess, accentuates like the vibes of Halo 2 so well, the core of it. And like, yeah, it really has this kind of, my favorite Halo music has that good cross section of like the sort of saddling up for a mission, like getting up to something vibe, but also like mixing in this like ancient like grandeur or wonderment or something, and this like this has that kind of mix of like on one hand like bank heist and on the other hand like the Lion King.
It's like getting up to something in the majestic horrifying nothingness of outer space.
Yeah, there's something about that, and this soundtrack in general too. So many great like bass moments in this soundtrack, including this song, and I just love that kind of. There's like a real big like sense of build to this like crescendo around 155. I love it so much, and it really like, I don't know, again, just sums up the feelings of this game. Even the title, Heretic Hero, is such a good title for this song, considering like just like the entire like plot setup of Halo 2. Like, I don't know, this is just like video game music to me. Like, this is just the perfect example of like what this medium should do in this form. I love it.
Yeah, I know what you mean when you say like this kind of exemplifies the Halo sound to you, because I have that in my notes. It's like this combination of like ancient humanity, ancient like beings, but then also like artificiality, like they're
Yeah.
combined into one thing, which is at least a little bit fitting. But then also, this sounds like a commercial for like medication or something, which I also really
Yeah.
like. It's got like real In the Waiting Line by 07 in here. You know, I don't know. There's just something about it. But yeah, we have a voicemail about this later, but I feel like a lot of people that listen to the show, based on the fact that Halo isn't even like, it's kind of almost a dead franchise at this point. Not dead, but
Yeah.
dormant, you know? Like no
Sure.
one talks about Halo Infinite, even though that was just a couple of years ago. Like it's a dormant franchise. And also I think that we have such a Nintendo focused audience that like probably a lot of people listening to this aren't really familiar with Halo music. And this probably doesn't sound anything like what most people not in the know would think Halo music sounds like.
Yeah. Like you would hear Halo being like a iconic first person shooter and know it tangentially and not really realize what Halo music sounds like. I mean, I think it's even when you play Halo Combat Evolved, like the first one for the first time, and you get to like that main menu and it's like monks chanting, like it's so weird, but like it's gotta be one of the most iconic video game theme songs of all time. Like it just weirdly kind of works, you know. It's to the point where like, you know, my mom would recognize the Halo music, you know, just from hearing like me playing it or whatever. She would recognize those chants. And yeah, it doesn't sound like other shooters. And I think the music of Halo just in general is a huge reason, like a massive factor in what kind of like makes these games special and what makes them stand out from like the typical like you know, like it's just a very very different from like Doom or whatever, you know. So yeah, it's good stuff.
I mean, unlike Doom, there's actually like a worthwhile story in
Yeah.
being told in Halo. I mean, and that's not a criticism of Doom. That's not what they want to do with that series. It's just underlining like what is different about Halo compared to most other shooters. I can't really think of any other first person shooter series that like has this much of an emphasis on lore and story.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll talk about it later at some point, but like there's like dozens and dozens of Halo novels.
Oh yeah.
You know, like people take this stuff seriously, and also people were mad about how Halo 2 ended with its cliffhanger and how abrupt it felt, which again, we'll talk about that later. But in the meantime, did you have anything else you wanted to add about Heretic Hero?
No, we can move on for now. I will say too, just real quick, finding the songs to for this episode and like kind of curating the breaks was actually kind of challenging for this one because Halo 2 probably has the most like like variety of most of the Halo OSTs, and finding things that would kind of like play well together was interesting and kind of a fun little challenge. But also I knew like the one thing that was always set in stone was like, yes, Heretic Hero needs to open the episode. So that part was easy.
Yeah, like I know what you mean. Like it's genuinely, it's fun, but also sometimes depending on the game and the soundtrack, it's hard to figure out like, oh, I know I want this song as a break song, but like, where do I put it? It's like curating a playlist, basically.
Yeah.
Figuring out what song to pair it with and stuff. Yeah.
We put thought into this stuff, you guys. Yeah.
Genuinely, like I hope that comes through. I'm not trying to, you know, pat ourselves on the back too hard, but yeah, we do try and actually think about this stuff. It's not completely random, despite the Dino Spumoni from a few minutes ago. Let's get into general housekeeping. I know we don't have any new reviews. I'm assuming you want to keep doing this reminder for at least the next couple episodes.
Yeah, I think so. Just to hammer it home, we're not going to do it for forever. I think like once we go on our break after this kind of season, I'll probably not do it in the next season, but at least for a couple more episodes. Just a PSA. Apple did recently enact this 30% charge. If y'all listen to the show, you've heard me harp on this for the past couple months. But yeah, like don't, if you're going to support us on Patreon, we really appreciate it. And hey, you should, because we do exclusive episodes, like mini episodes of the show, including one coming up on Halo 3 ODST that you're not going to want to miss. So if you want to catch that, you're going to need to check out the Patreon. But if you do that, do please just do it from the desktop site. Don't pay Apple an extra 30%. Don't do it from the iOS app. Just do it on the desktop site. So we appreciate that. And also, you mentioned there's no new reviews, but reviews are free. Like if you want to support the show, but you either don't or can't support on Patreon, you can support for free with the reviews, and that is genuinely very helpful. It helps get the show like higher up in the searches and higher up on the charts and stuff like that. So that is genuinely a very useful way to support the show, is with a 5-star review. So we appreciate that. We have a couple comments. Do you want to get into some of these comments?
Yes. I do want to underline, like, hey, y'all, I wasn't making podcasts to any kind of big scale, like a year ago until BitHarmony. So I always dismissed the reviews and how much it helps the show until I started making this show. And now I understand. So if you're also someone that is dismissing this as like, whatever, reviews. No, it actually does really help. Like if you like this show, you should just review it. Just to underline it. I was in your shoes and now I'm in my own shoes, and you should join me, but in your shoes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I listened to a lot of podcasts and I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Okay, reviews, moving on. But no, it really does help a lot. And it's very like, it is probably the like most reward for the least amount of effort from you. Like it takes very little to just leave a quick 5-star review, and it really does help so much. So we really do appreciate it.
Just click that 5 stars. That's all it takes. Just do it.
Yeah,
just do it.
Just do it. We do have a couple of comments, both from Patreon. Actually, people have been commenting on Patreon more and more, which I kind of like. The first one comes to us from Ligerwoods330. And this is in response to both of these are technically in response to the Streets of Rage 4 episode, the last episode. Ligerwood says, if you guys get a chance to check out Sonicware's Mega Synthesis, if you guys get a chance, check out Sonicware's Mega Synthesis. It's a little portable synth that Yuzo Koshiro helped develop. I got it a few months ago and it easily became one of my favorite instruments. Their Back was one of the built-in songs. I simply had to get that off my chest, and I feel like you both would find that interesting. None of my friends would give a shit. LMAO. You might have to woo me that, but I wanted to include it for posterity. But
honestly, I'll probably leave it unwoomied. It's fine. So I will say, that's just super cool just to know that. I don't know much about synthesizers. I certainly don't know anything about specific ones. And I know even less about how synthesizers are made, or like how Yuzo Koshiro helped develop this synthesizer. I know he has a YouTube channel that I followed for years, and he posts interesting things on there, even though a lot of it is beyond me. A lot of it is about stuff like this. But yeah, regardless of all that, that is super cool to know, especially the fact that Their Back is one of the built-in songs.
Yeah, I looked at a video for this and it seems super cool. And yeah, it just is like a little synthesizer that allows you to kind of noodle around with like, something that kind of at least emulates the sound of like the, Genesis or Mega Drive like sound chip. And it's got a whole bunch of presets that are just Yuzo Koshiro songs. And it seems really neat. I would not mind getting my hands on one of these just to like fool around with it at some point. Like I'm not somebody who makes music myself very often, unless it's a cover of Here's to You for the purposes of an intro for this song, for this podcast. But it would be fun to noodle around with that. Like it looks cool. So
I'm with you. Like there was a time where, when not Guitar Hero, Rock Band was 4 the one that had a keyboard, or was it 3?
Right.
One of them had a keyboard, and I owned it. And that thing is like a fully functional keyboard if you just plug it into your computer, apparently. And for a while there, I'm like, why don't I just like do something with this? Like I have this like little keyboard here and it's cool, but no one's playing Rock Band anymore, least of all me. Like, why don't I just do something with it? And I never did. kind of like this, story for a lot of people, I think, with anything like that.
Sure.
And now, now I obviously didn't bring that Rock Band 3 keyboard with me to Germany. So now I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I should have messed around with that when I had the chance. I get it. It would be cool just to mess around with that. And, just goofing off with things like that. That's how I learned how to do like everything in my life. I've basically not been taught how to do anything. It's just all come from, as you say, noodling. I'll also say, Liger Woods, at some point you're probably going to have to send us, even if you just privately, you're probably going to send us some music. The fact that you've brought up multiple times, the fact that you make music, even if it's just goofing off, even if you're not super serious about it, I think at some point you should probably at the very least DM me or Seth some music. I feel like
I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
I don't want to call you out too much, but enough to shame you into sending music.
I mean, look, we have had not only Liger Woods, but also like other musicians like getting wind of the show. I actually should shout out a recent member of the Discord community. I don't know if it's supposed to be like Old Drake or Old Rake. I think it's supposed to be Old Rake.
His YouTube like logo is like Old Rake, but I'm not sure if that came after the fact or not.
Right. So either way, old Rake joined the Discord and is a musician and has some really cool stuff that they linked in the like creator promotion channel in our Discord, and really cool, like great guitarist and does some cool covers. Was convinced by the Streets of Rage 4 episode to buy Streets of Rage 4. So we, a job well done for us there. And it was cool to see him join. So welcome. It's cool to see some musicians catching wind of Bit Harmony.
Yeah, it genuinely is.
We have a comment here from Shy Guy, and this is a simple one. Shy Guy says, "Greetings. I'm here to have my official patron's request for a WarioWare episode honored. Much obliged." He's turning in his ticket for the WarioWare episode.
All right, we've added you to the list. Everyone is going to be satisfied all at the same time, and it's going to be great. We're going to get to that this summer. Is the plan? Again, I have a broader idea for what we're going to do. I don't want to hype it up too much. It's a theme thing.
Yeah,
but we are going to do a WarioWare episode of some sort. Probably pretty shortly after we're back from our break, is my guess. I should mention, I said that as a joke that people can request an episode as long as it's a WarioWare episode. Again, you can request any episode you want, non-jokingly. Just be aware that it might take us a while to get to it, and so on and so forth. So I don't.
Sure.
I know Shy Guy knows that I'm joking, and he's part of the bit. But to emphasize, you can send in requests if you want. And we'll get to it eventually, probably.
Yeah, probably, maybe, if we want to.
Yeah, if we want to is a good qualifier,
yeah. Yeah. Yep. So thanks to Liger Woods and Shy Guy for commenting. You can, if you ever want to, you can join the Discord, talk to us about episodes there, comment on Patreon, comment on Spotify. Even if you listen to the show on Spotify, you can leave Spotify comments. So we welcome that. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, as always, for anyone interacting with the show in any way, shape, or form. Since we just had all these comments about the Streets of Rage 4 episode, what did you think about the Streets of Rage 4 episode?
It was a good one. It's funny. We talked about this kind of privately, but if we can toot our own horn, like I feel like we've been on a real hot streak. Like I feel like we really kind of like hit a stride, and I've reached this place with the show where like every time we record a new episode, I always come away being like, damn, that was a good one. And it's always evidenced to me by the fact that like the way that people engage with it, like even, somebody like Old Ray coming into the Discord and talking about Streets of Rage, and, and we have like a voicemail later about it and stuff. Like, you can always tell when like something resonates, I guess, with people in a little bit of a deeper way, and that episode kind of did. And I'm happy with it. It was a fun one.
Yeah, I quite liked it. Like you said, just feels like this whole season, as it were, has been, I don't know, it feels like we stepped up our game a little bit. Every spring, like once the winter is fully gone, I clean our balcony, like I give it a good scrub, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but when you're living in a big city, the pollution really stacks up on your balcony, as it were. So that's like a good half-day project for me when that happens. So I listened to the Streets of Rage 4 episode while cleaning the balcony, and then I loaded up like a random old episode of ours, and then I could literally hear the difference, like listening to them back to back. And not that the old episodes aren't good. This is all just a long-winded way of me saying that I don't know, it was good to have that perspective and listen to an old episode for the first time in a long time, and just be reminded of the fact that I'm genuinely very proud of the things we've done on the show in like a pretty short span of time, all things considered. And just, I don't know, the amount of love that we seem to get from listeners and such. Again, we've said it on the show before, but you don't often get people actually telling you how much they like a thing. You'll always hear about it if something is bad, but you rarely hear when something is good. You just have to keep pressing on. So the fact that we do get from my perspective at least, a decent amount of people telling us how much they like the show, it's very appreciated. Sometimes you need that. Especially me right now. It's appreciated right now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, definitely. It's validating, because this kind of thing can often be very thankless, and it's nice to hear when people like what you're doing, and it's nice to hear people like resonate even with the subject matter or the way that you've covered the subject matter, because often as like a creative, you can carry a lot of self-doubt about that sort of thing. So yeah, to feel validated by your audience is a really great thing. And it's how this sort of stuff should be, frankly. So
this podcast feels like a weird outlier of like a remnant of the old internet, which makes sense because you and I grew up on the internet 20 something years ago. So it makes sense that we'd be carrying forth that energy. But yeah, it's nice. But anyway, are we ready for the most anticipated segment of the show, especially from Sean Capri, the State of the Nintendo Music Address?
Yeah, present like brought to you by Sean.
Okay, that's actually incredible. Yeah, that might be the new name of the segment. Sean Capri presents the State of the Nintendo Music Address.
I think he even came into the Discord and said, like, and not to, put the cart in front of the horse here. Matt's adding it to our notes right now. I'm watching.
I literally added it to the
notes. But Sean did come into our Discord, and again, not to put the cart in front of the horse, but he was like, I can't wait for y'all to give this an A because it's a game I don't care about.
Well, let's get into it then, Sean. Sean Capri presents the Bit Harmony State of the Nintendo Music Address. As Sean puts it, the game that he doesn't care about, and honestly, I don't really care about either, is
me either.
Fire Emblem Engage. This is the only game we have this 2 weeks, I assume, because this week is Golden Week in Japan.
Yes.
Which is fair, because this is, I think, the largest drop ever. I think the only soundtrack on Nintendo Music bigger than this is Animal Crossing, New Horizons, but that was like a day one, so this is like 7 hours of music they added. And again, I assume that was done because they knew they weren't going to have an update the next week. Fire Emblem Engage was composed by a whole bunch of people. I have written down here Yasuhisa Baba, Kazuki Komai, Hiroki Morishita, Takeru Kanazaki, Fumihiro Isobe, and Takafumi Wada. So I don't know how much you were able to listen to it. I listened to at least an hour's worth of the music in here. It is very interesting how anime sounding the soundtrack is. And then when I looked it up, like 3 of those composers, they're only known for working on anime music, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense, especially like because essentially what I did, I was like, I saw just like the scope of this. I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm listening to all this.
No, no chance.
It's like 186 tracks or something like that. Like it's a lot. So I just basically just went into like the top tracks section and kind of jumped around in there. I did listen to Fire Emblem's like English themes are always so crazy. Like it's funny because like Japanese lyrics, especially in something like an anime opening, the Japanese language in general, it's evoking like mood and stuff like that in a way that the English language doesn't. So it's always really funny to have like these lyrics translated to English and like awkwardly stuffed into the melody, and like we've talked about it on the show. Like it even creates like the funny little stuff, like the English version of the Fire Emblem like main theme is just Fire Emblem, and so it's really funny to hear that stuff. This game apparently has like several vocalized and like lyricized like themes in it. All of them are kind of bad in the English form. I do like the Japanese version of them, but also I did like kind of bouncing around to some of the tracks and some of the like area themes. I'm like, okay, like I get it. I can't say that anything like blew me away or like knocked my socks off, but it's good, and there's a part of me that would one day like to go back and actually play this game, but I don't know if that's ever gonna happen or not.
So my thing with Fire Emblem Engage is I'm not the biggest Fire Emblem person. Like I do like tactics, like strategy RPGs or tactics RPGs. Yeah. I like them, and I've played a couple Fire Emblem games, but none of them grab me the way like a Final Fantasy Tactics does, right? I put well over 100 hours into Three Houses, and I like Sacred Stones. This is also done for the 35th anniversary of Fire Emblem, adding Engage soundtrack onto here, and then they also added Sacred Stones onto the Game Boy Advance NSO app the other week as well. Yeah. And I played an hour of that randomly when they added that. I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this game. Like I forgot I played the hell out of this on my 3DS as an ambassador game. So like I like Fire Emblem, but besides Three Houses, like none of them have ever fully grabbed me. And with Three Houses, it was kind of just because it was like a Harry Potter game where you're at like this military boarding school and you can like develop relationships with everyone. Now, granted, that's without getting into like the weird power dynamic of the fact that your character is a teacher and you can like date your students. We won't get into that, but sure. Like it was still cool, the concept and like the fact that you choose one of 3 paths to go on, or I guess one of 4 paths, I guess. And then Engage got rid of that. Like, Engage is way more of, like, a gameplay-focused Fire Emblem,
Right.
And I know, like, Three Houses was primarily developed by, like, Koei Tecmo, whereas Engage was developed in-house at Intelligent Systems, so, like, it's nice that, like, Fire Emblem fans, like, hardcore purists that didn't like the big relationship focus of Three Houses, that they had this game to fall back on a couple years later, but Engage looked so much nicer than Three Houses visually, and like I'm attracted to it from like a purely visual perspective, but then I think about playing a game like this without like the relationship focus. I'm just like, I don't know if I have it in me, because that's like, to me, that's become a defining thing of Fire Emblem. And again, I'm sure there's still like some relationship stuff. I don't doubt that, because it's too important to Fire Emblem now, ever since Awakening. But I just know that it's de-emphasized here compared to Three Houses, and that just, it doesn't do it for me,
Yeah, I'm with you. I've heard the same thing. My big tether to Fire Emblem is Awakening on 3DS. That's one of my favorite 3DS games. Like, I love that game. And that was my big, like, my first real, like, I had kind of dabbled with other Fire Emblem things, But that was my first real exposure to Fire Emblem in a big way, and that game's soundtrack is amazing. And you know, this is good too. And again, you know, like I saw this go on sale for like $20 at Best Buy last year.
Okay, I would have bought it for $20. Yeah,
yeah. I was real close. Like I was like on the edge, but I have these moments sometimes where I'm like, dude, like I'm just not gonna play this. Like if I and to your point about like the sort of de-emphasis on relationships and that kind of being what differentiates Fire Emblem. Like, I have Unicorn Overlord on my shelf. I have, you know, I could play Triangle Strategy or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there are other things kind of competing for the throne, I guess, kind of in this space. And I don't know, you kind of have to bring the heat, you know, if you want to stand out these days, even if you're Nintendo's big marquee tactics game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very telling that I played an hour of Sacred Stones, like I said, and I was really enjoying it. But then my immediate thought was like, I should play Unicorn Overlord. Like, I shouldn't continue playing this free game that I have, and I shouldn't buy Fire Emblem Engage, like one of these that I haven't played yet. No, I should get Unicorn Overlord instead, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So this is a weird one for me. Like, to come into this, I have no attachment to the game. It's an intimidatingly large selection of music, and so I couldn't even really engage with it as like a whole piece. So I come at it from kind of a weird place. And also this only being the singular drop here, it's also kind of weird because ordinarily, and maybe we should say this, maybe we don't make this clear enough, when we are giving like our letter grades and doing this stupid segment of the show, we aren't like, you know, necessarily just talking about the quality of the soundtracks. We're talking about like the drop itself, the combination of the games, the, you know, even the relation of like when they dropped it, you know, the fact that this was like a part of the Fire Emblem anniversary celebration and everything, like that all matters. And that factors in to the letter grade that we give these things. It's not just simply, oh, Zelda's iconic, therefore A. You know what I mean? It's not like that. So as if that wasn't clear enough. But so for this one, with all of those factors kind of swirling around, the letter grade that I think I've landed on, and this is maybe the most I've actually thought about my letter grade ever doing this, because you know, again, I want to make sure that I'm giving it its credit, and it does have the deck stacked against it. So I'm gonna go with a B- today, I think, for my personal grade. It's not, you know, it's good stuff, and I can respect it, and I just don't have the attachment to the game. The game is having to hold up this particular state of the Nintendo Music Address all on its own two shoulders. So I maybe am a little bit kinder to it because of that, but I'm gonna give it a B- today.
I had like the exact same line of thought. I went with a B only because I felt like it'd be hypocritical of me to always be complaining that they're not dropping stuff I'm not familiar with, and then complain that they dropped something I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, like you said, I liked everything I heard besides the vocal themes.
Right, me too.
Specifically, the song that I had written down that I liked the most I heard was Faraway, Holy Land.
Yep.
I don't know, I really quite liked at least a few of the songs I heard, and you know, I listened to a fraction of it. So it's possible I could even like bump this up a little bit. I didn't want to count the fact that this is the only drop against it this time because of it being like a holiday week in Japan. So I just kind of dismissed that, and I just said, all right, let's just judge this on its own. So yeah, I went with a B on this, but yeah, we basically approached this from the exact same angle and came to nearly exactly the same conclusion.
Yeah, that's funny and interesting. I wonder if the next drop is going to have, I'm assuming they're just basically going to take this week off for the Golden Week, and it's probably not going to impact anything, but it does make me wonder if they're going to try to like make up for something, you know, like next week and drop like 2 or something like that. That'd be interesting. It's
Nintendo, so I would just assume no, because they also took like another holiday off, like right after the New Year, I think. And they did not make up for it the next week, if I remember correctly. Again, I also kind of take it that they dropped this specific soundtrack, which is huge and the biggest drop ever, that already kind of was the make good on the fact that there wasn't a soundtrack the next week. Is kind of
Sure.
how I
Yeah.
took it. But anyway, that has been your Sean Capri presents the State of the Nintendo Music Address. That name is going to stick, even though it makes it way harder to say. Let's take our next break and then come back and talk about Halo 2. This break, we're going to play In Amber Clad
Oh.
and Peril. Both of these, again, by Dino Spumoni, Martin O'Donnell himself, and Michael Salvatori. Again, In Amber Clad and Peril, and we will be back. and that was In Amber Clad in Peril from Halo 2. You kind of gave like a satisfied groan when I said In Amber Clad. Tell me about that.
I just love this song, man. Halo 2's music, I definitely had this, like, I streamed a full replay in the Discord, by the way, so just more reason to check out the Discord. I'm going to be doing the same for Halo 3 ODST very soon, so it's probably already happened by the time you guys are listening to this podcast, frankly. But like, even just replaying it, like getting myself like re-hyped about the music. Like, it's one of those songs that just, when I hear it, like, it's got like this great swell at the beginning of it. Just always gives me like goosebumps. It just makes me like, yeah, exactly that noise that I made. Just that, like, oh, like just that kind of, just like that. It makes you like clutch your heart or something. It just like, it does something to me. It like affects me emotionally. And then like, it's crazy how it's wild how like a song this short and pretty simplistic even can make such an impression, because it starts off with this kind of like swell that makes you think that it's going to give you like this kind of like emotional kind of vibe, but then like it just, like, that bass comes in with that perfect lead into like the drums and that little like electric guitar lead, and it's just like, it's just a phenomenal piece of music. Not like, nothing gets me hyped up quite like this, man. It is great stuff.
Yeah, this song is probably the one that I had the least notes for, but I liked it. It's not because I didn't like it. I just didn't have that much to say about it. My first note is, this is just cool, man.
Yeah.
It's like Batman suiting back up after like a tragic defeat or something, you know?
Totally.
But like, when I say it's cool, this is one of the cheesiest electric guitars I've ever heard in my life, but like, that's what makes it cool, you know? But also, you have to be in that state of mind. And, you know, I have another note about this on a different song later, but like 20 years ago, I had a big aversion to like electric guitars for the most part. Like, it probably because like my dad was real into like stuff that had electric guitars, you know? So I'm guessing that's what it was, but you know, I've come around on it a bit more as the years have gone by, and I can really appreciate this from like a, you know, slightly after the turn of the millennium kind of mindset. Like, instrumentally, this feels like a song you could have heard on the radio. You know, it's lacking like lyrics or whatever, but it genuinely feels like something, and that's something that I feel about a lot of the soundtrack, is that if you added like vocals on with lyrics on top of these songs, I can hear it in my head playing on a radio like in the Midwest in 2005 or whatever, you know? So I appreciated it from that point of view.
Yeah, sure. No, I think that I think that's all accurate. I weirdly had like the opposite pathway for my appreciation for electric guitar. I started learning to play guitar. Just a quick little bit of Seth lore here. I started wanting to learn how to play guitar when I first heard Crazy Train for the first time by Ozzy. The first time I heard that song, I think I was like 12 years old, and I was like, dude, like, I have to learn how to play this. That was the song that made me want to learn how to play guitar. And anyway, so I literally just picked up guitar out of nowhere and taught myself how to play. And eventually I did learn how to play Crazy Train. And, you know, and anyway, it kind of like in my teenage years, probably from the age of like 12 until the age of like, I don't know, 17, 18, I was very locked into like guitar. Like, I thought that guitar was going to be like a big part of me and who I am. And in a way it still kind of is. Like, I'll grab my acoustic guitar. Just did this last night. I just grab my acoustic guitar and play a little something, and that's all fine, but it's much more of like a casual thing for me now. But in this kind of era in my life, I was very into all of this stuff. And so for Halo, like, I was a huge fan of Halo 1, and then coming into Halo 2, for so much of the soundtrack to include guitars, like, it felt like it was like the evolution of Halo sound or something to me. I was so into it. And it's funny because there was a time when I got a little bit older and I was kind of in my 20s where I didn't like appreciate, the cheesiness of like electric guitar or something like that. And then I kind of came back around to it in my 30s of just like kind of appreciating that style again and how well it works for something like this, for a song like this, for a game like this. I think it really kind of like strengthens the emotions of that moment. Like this kind of shouldn't work. There's a lot of stuff in here that kind of shouldn't work, and it does. Like really, it's like bigger than the sum of its parts, or whatever people say.
Is that literally just because it's a video game soundtrack and like you feel like personally emboldened because like the music is playing for you while you're playing?
I think so. I think that definitely is a piece of it. Another piece is Halo 2 has like this interesting thing with its music where it's dynamic. Like the music kind of builds as you play, and I don't know, something about that, and that's by design, and we can get into that maybe a little bit more later, but you know, because of that, it really kind of feeds into the emotions of the moment a lot more, and like, I don't know, it makes you feel so much more connected to what's happening right then, right there. And I think that's like that's something that Bungie like very clearly thinks about with basically every facet of their games. Like, they talk about one of the big, Bungie design tenets is like the 30 seconds of fun. They always talk about this, and just every 30 seconds you should be doing something fun, And so that lends to a lot of variety in the gameplay, but that same philosophy is kind of applied to the music of like, there should always be something new and fun and interesting building in the song, even if the song's only like a minute and a half long or whatever an Amber Clad is, So I don't know. I think that all of that kind of feeds into what makes it special.
Yeah. I think all these songs are pretty stand out for me, but again, this is another one that like stood out to me when I was listening to these, like making notes for them and stuff. And I'll even say just the name In Amber Clad is a pretty cool name.
It's really
for
cool.
A song. Yeah.
it's the name of the main like ship that the humans kind of are using in the game. It's called In Amber Clad. It's like their kind of main station in the game. And it's it's just like a cool name. Like, like it doesn't even make a ton of sense. It's just cool. Like, it's cool sounding.
There's something specifically about like spaceships being named cool things, like the Millennium Falcon. That just sounds cool. Like, it doesn't really matter, Like, I just want something that sounds cool and dramatic.
Right. And even like when it came time for when they did KOTOR, and like they tried to kind of like play off of the Millennium Falcon, like your ship in that game is called the Ebon Hawk, and it just doesn't really, it doesn't hit the same. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it's kind of like the Wish.com Millennium Falcon, it's not, it just doesn't hit. But like, when you can land on something that just like feels good on the tongue like that, like In Amber Clad, like it just, I don't know, man, it hits.
In Amber Clad is like the cellar door of spaceship names.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it hits, man. There's like, even like the Halo has this cool thing where their levels and like their like they're kind of even chapter breaks in the levels. Like, I love in Halo when like a new chapter of the level starts and the screen kind of goes full screen for a second, and there's like at the bottom right a little bit of text that like says something, and they're always so good. Like, like the truth and reconciliation is like a famous one, and it's like, that just sounds cool, man. Like, they just like, that just rules. They're just really good at that.
It's just very sci-fi, like, sounds very grandiose sounding. Like, it sounds important, and yeah, In Amber Clad sounds very important. With Peril, when I first started listening to this, I'm like, wait, we definitely broke for the song in the early 2000s episode, and I looked it up, and yes, we did. And yeah, my thoughts on this are still the same. This is my favorite Halo song that I at least remember, like, I'm not saying this is the best one or whatever, but out of the ones I remember, which is mostly Halo 1 and 2 stuff, this is the one I like the most because it sounds like an Enya song.
Totally.
And I know I said all that in the early 2000s episode, but for me, it was just this weird, it was a weird layer of nostalgia of, instead of getting flashbacks to 2004 playing Halo 2, I was getting flashbacks to 2024 editing at the time what was by far our most ambitious and grueling to edit episode yet.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's funny to have nostalgia, I guess, for an episode about nostalgia. Is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of, I love this song. I don't have a ton of notes on this, but yeah, it does kind of sound like an Enya song. It has that playful, kind of almost like a classical music feel with that kind of plucky, opening and everything. But then when the cello starts coming in, my God, like it just really, it gives the song like such a different texture, and it just like deepens it. And the area that this plays in the game is really cool. It's like when Master Chief and he is joined by a bunch of ODSTs, and they like drop onto the second Halo ring, and it really kind of gives this sense of like just like discovery, like, okay, like we're back in it, like we're kind of like figuring this out again, and it's not long until you get into a Scorpion and start blowing it all up. So it just is the soundtrack of all of that.
This is gonna sound really stupid because we've already said like the title Halo 3 ODST multiple times, but until just now, where you said multiple ODSTs and Master Chief joining up with them, I was like, wait, what is ODST? And then somewhere in the back of my brain, as I asked that question, I said orbital what was it? Orbital something troopers, drop troopers.
Orbital drop shock troopers.
Yeah, there you go. I have no idea where that knowledge comes from, but that should prove to you that I have played these games, or at least the first two. It's somewhere in the back of my head. I knew it was orbital something troopers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny too because like I didn't get to watch you stream as much Halo 2 in the Discord as I would have liked. It was just a busy week or whatever. I had a lot of nostalgia for especially the first few levels that I did get to see, because again, I did beat this in co-op all the way through back nearly 20 years ago with my best friend at the time, but I didn't realize how vividly I remembered the first couple levels, like basically the opening level, the first mission on Earth, and then when you start playing as the Arbiter. Like I remembered all three of those very, very vividly. But yeah, I would have liked to see more because I was genuinely getting invested in a way I wasn't expecting from watching you play.
The campaign of this game is amazing. Like it genuinely is really, really good still. And like it is by far the best story, I think, of any of the Halo games. And it still holds up. It still has a ton of intrigue. All the things that were annoying about it are still annoying about it. But even that, I kind of like. I don't know. We can get into all of that stuff, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's get into it. Let's start talking some Halo 2. Halo 2 was released November 9th, 2004 for the original Xbox, and it sucks that you have to specify the original Xbox because of like the dumb naming conventions of Xboxes. You can't say
Xbox One. Yeah, you can't say that.
Yeah. It's truly the worst named like lineup of consoles ever. You know, they got it right with the Xbox 360. I'm not sure why they deviated so far from what a name that worked on multiple levels, but as the name Halo 2 would imply, this is the direct sequel to Halo Combat Evolved. No one calls it Halo Combat Evolved. Everyone just calls it Halo. It's fine. Again, if you're not sure what Halo is, and I don't blame you if you don't, especially if you're younger at this point, Halo was the de facto first-person shooter, at least on consoles, basically from the word go of its inception in 2001 until Call of Duty started really blowing up in like the late 2000s. I think Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, that came out the same year as Halo 3, right?
Yeah, it must have been. Halo 3 was like September, I want to say 26th, if I remember right, 2007. And
I think they were both 2007, yeah.
I think so. I think Modern Warfare must have been like November 2007. Yeah.
And I feel I didn't look this up ahead of time, but this is like when I was starting to really pay a lot more attention to video games in general, and I seem to recall that even though I didn't own an Xbox 360, that I remember reading stuff about people being shocked that like Modern Warfare was higher up on the Xbox Live charts than Halo 3 that year.
Right.
You know, like it, not to say that Halo 3 was bad. That's the last Halo game that I played at all, but I don't remember it basically at all. Like people, from my memory, they really liked Halo 3, but it was just, yeah, the tides were now shifting towards the Call of Duty at the time, you know?
Mm-hmm. My opinion on Halo 3 is really soured over time. If I can just be so real, I like that game still, and there's a lot of good things about it. And it was unquestionably a massive moment in time. Like I'll never forget, like the midnight launch of that was incredible. Like the experience of playing it, we played so much of it, and it was all great. I'm not saying it isn't a good game, but like, yeah, my experience for like the story and the campaign of it has really kind of soured over time, and even the multiplayer I think kind of went in some directions that I didn't love, and I find it one of the hardest Halo games to go back to personally, but and you know, yeah, to say nothing of the fact that like Modern Warfare came out and people kind of write off Call of Duty a little bit now, but Modern Warfare like was kind of a revelation when that game came out. Everybody was playing it. So
right. That kind of ties into the next thing I'd written down, which for one, it's kind of sad that it feels like I need to explain to people what Halo is, because 20 years ago, this was maybe the biggest game series on the planet. Like I'm struggling to think of something that was bigger, and we'll get into why that is a little bit later. But yeah, specifically with Halo 2, it felt like the series had like reached the pinnacle of like video game dumb at the time. And then it's kind of sad that it feels like that they only got to live on that for a few years. And then Halo 3, again, people really liked it at the time. But like you said, I don't really ever hear people talk about Halo 3 with the same the same fondness as they do Halo 1 or 2. I feel like I hear way more good things about Halo 3 ODST in hindsight than I do about Halo 3 proper. I feel like I even hear better things about Halo Reach, which I don't really know anything about, than I do Halo 3 at this point.
Yeah, it's the real Halo 3 heads are out there. If my friend Dan is listening to this, Daniel Lina Jose, he's one of our patrons. He may be listening to this episode. He's one of my best friends, but he is like the biggest Halo 3 head that I know. And he's a big defender of Halo 3 in particular. But I think even for him, it's mostly for nostalgia and like what it kind of meant at the time and stuff like that. I don't think that he would actually defend some of the like story or like the kind of overcomplication of the multiplayer too much. But there are some Halo 3 heads, and for me, Halo Reach is just as hard to go back to, even though again I loved it at the time. But Halo 3 and Halo Reach are also kind of not quite it for me. For various other reasons that we probably don't need to get into. But
sure.
Still, yeah.
The main thing specifically I remember about Halo 3 was that the one where they added the hammer, like you could do like a hammer attack.
Gravity hammer, yeah.
So that's a cool name, but what I remember feeling at the time, and this is a very, very baseline casual perspective on it, but the energy sword or whatever it's called in Halo 2 is one of the coolest weapons in any game ever.
Yeah.
And then it felt like they were like, well, we need another cool thing in Halo 3. We need to introduce another cool like melee weapon that can like just like one-shot dudes, you know? And even though I do like hammers in video games, that's a thing everyone should know about me. I'm a big hammer guy. I like Hammer and Monster Hunter a lot. It felt like they were just trying to replicate like the energy sword thing, you know? Like it felt like they just wanted to recapture, because like I'm sure you remember better than I do, but like I remember the first time I got a kill with the energy sword in multiplayer in Halo 2.
Yeah.
It felt amazing, that lunge and stuff, like how unwieldy it kind of is, but when you start to master the unwieldiness, I know we're getting like really in the weeds in this random
Sure.
this random little patch of talking, but like I don't know, I didn't like the gravity hammer, and that just kind of soured my whole experience with Halo 3, and I just didn't care about it anymore.
How dorky should I get when responding to this comment?
I don't know. As dorky as you want, I guess.
Well, so so like the one of the big kind of like story moments of Halo 2 is that at a certain point the elites, which were kind of like known as like the, you know, the guardians of the prophet, they're kind of the right hand of the covenant. They were like the ones who were, you know, kind of always on the front lines. At a certain point, that guard changed over forcibly to the brutes instead. Kind of going into the end of Halo 2, the brutes were like a new enemy type. They're kind of these like gorilla-like, bear-like kind of dudes. And the main antagonist of Halo 2, and actually the final boss of Halo 2, is a brute called Tartarus, who uses the gravity hammer as a weapon. And so coming into Halo 3, this is kind of, again, like being a sequel to Halo 2, there's way more emphasis on brutes as an enemy than there are elites. There are still elites in the Covenant, but it is very predominantly brutes. To the point where a lot of the like weapons and vehicles are also like brute weapons and vehicles. So there's like the brute chopper is a new vehicle in Halo 3. There's like brute shots. The brute shot was also in Halo 2, but they had like the brute shot. The brutes even have their own version of like a pistol. You know, I think it's called the Spiker, if I remember right. And then the gravity hammer is kind of like the brute's answer to like the energy sword, as you say. But there's something about the gravity hammer that's kind of interesting, is it does feel so much more unruly than the energy sword. And I don't like it in practice for multiplayer purposes, but I do like it in the campaign. Like in the campaign, it's kind of fun to get your hands on it and just kind of wreck shop for a little bit. But I agree that in multiplayer, like the energy sword feels like for a brief moment, not only are you a massive threat, you also have the biggest target on your back because everybody can see you walking around with that sword, you know? And immediately it's like, that dude has the sword, kill that dude. You know what I mean? And so it creates like a fun sense of tension that the gravity hammer doesn't quite have, especially because, you know, the energy sword has like a lunge that like if you just get close enough, if that reticle like turns red, like you know you have a kill, basically. The gravity hammer doesn't quite have that. It has a little bit of a lunge, but it also has a bit of an area of effect that can push people back. So it is kind of interesting from a gameplay perspective, because if somebody like, it's one of those like, if you're gonna swing the gravity hammer, you better not miss, because you'll push me back and you'll damage me, but you've also created enough distance for me to then like finish you off from afar because you've pushed me away. You know, so I don't know. I like it from like a practicality standpoint, even though I didn't find myself using it in multiplayer that much. So anyway, that's my gravity hammer rant.
That wasn't nearly as dorky as I expected, so it's fine. I mean, yeah, when I'm talking, when it's me speaking about Halo, it's going to mostly be about the multiplayer, because that's where most of my memories are.
Sure.
So it's good to know that like my memories were correct in that the energy sword in multiplayer is more like, I don't know, deadly and whatever than the gravity hammer. Like,
Definitely.
yeah, like you said, like you can mess up with the energy sword too. Like you can still obviously get God even in close range with it if the person is good or you're not that good or whatever. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The risk reward thing is a cool idea. But even just from like a visual standpoint, energy sword just looks cooler than a big hammer. Like that's
totally.
That's just all there is to it. Anyway, sorry for the tangent we already got off on. We're not, this might be our first 4-hour episode in a long time.
Yeah.
But anyway, Halo 2, this is like as direct a sequel as you can really be in my mind. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like this is directly following up from the previous game, like story-wise, of course, but also just, you know, the first game did not have online multiplayer. Like Halo got really popular because of like LAN parties and stuff. But this was before Xbox Live existed. If you younger listeners can even imagine that, like their Halo 1, like this legendary multiplayer game didn't have online. You know, like that probably sounds weird, but that's just how it was back then. Also, they added one of my favorite bits in Halo 2 is they added the ability to dual wield guns. They also added multiple protagonists. I always like dual wielding the Needlers, which, if I remember correctly, maybe you even said this, they really nerfed the Needler in future games, but I remember quite liking the Needler and just being stupid with it in 2.
Yeah, the Needler can be really deadly in Halo 2 in particular. There's a lot of stuff like Halo 1 is such an unbalanced game. It's actually crazy. Like if you go back to Halo 1, like just the basic pistol is like insane. Like it is the most powerful. It's like a 2-shot. Like you shoot somebody, it takes out their shield, and then the next shot kills them with the Halo 1 pistol. It's crazy.
Like it's maybe the most famous video game pistol ever. Like even I didn't play nearly as much Halo 1 as I did 2, and even I know that pistol is insane.
It's crazy. Also, the way the grenades work in Halo 1 is crazy because there's no like residual damage. There's no like area of effect based like bleed effect on the damage. Like if you are within the kill zone of a grenade, you're just gonna die. So it's crazy the way all of that stuff works. Halo 1 is a shockingly unbalanced game, and it's very funny to go back to. And it's why a lot of people don't take it seriously competitively anymore, and it's more so just like a dumb fun little thing. And so Halo 2 is a far more balanced game when it comes to like the actual gameplay side of things, and the tactic that it took for the weapons that they made available was interesting because it very much leaned into the new dual wielding functionality. Like rather than having that kind of classic Halo assault rifle that is somewhat iconic, like the Halo assault rifle, just the look of it is like kind of iconic, I would say. It's not in Halo 2.
I fully agree. Yeah, even like the reload animation to me is iconic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not in Halo 2, and instead Halo 2 has like SMGs that, that you can dual wield, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like they feel kind of weak and like pellet gunny, but they can also be like pretty powerful if you dual wield them, and you can kind of like unload the clip of one really quickly to take out the shield and then finish them off with the other one while you're reloading the one you just emptied, so there's stuff like that. You also had like fun little combinations that people found out, very famously something called the sexy combo, which is you take the plasma pistol and fully charge it, which has lock on. And so if you fully charge the plasma pistol and get a charged shot locked onto a player, that will wipe out their shields, and then you can have another thing in your offhand and just kind of quickly take them out once their shields are gone. That's the sexy combo. So there's that. Also, Halo 2 introduced the BR, the battle rifle, which is maybe my favorite weapon in any first-person shooter ever.
Like, it feels so good, that little burst fire. It's so good.
I love it. It is also, it's the perfect amount of zoom. Like when you aim down sights, or when you zoom in with the scope of that, it's perfect. And yeah, just it feels so good. The travel on it is so good. Halo 2 has a game mode called SWAT that is like my favorite multiplayer game mode, I think, in any game ever, where the radar is turned off and nobody has any shields and everybody just has BRs. So you're walking around, and the second you see somebody, you just pop a headshot and boom, they're gone. Like they're dead. It's so fun. It's so like visceral and kind of scary. And anyway, like Halo 2 introducing all of these things, all of these new like mechanics and weapons, like it really kind of made, like Halo 1 was fun, and I played a bunch of it with friends casually, but like Halo 2 introducing this stuff, introducing these new weapons, these balancing changes, and like the online being as good and fully formed as it was, like that's when I got really into Halo 2 competitively. I have probably spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing Halo 2 competitively. My friends and I were way into it. We had like a clan, like it was a lot. And we spent a ton of time with Halo 2's multiplayer, and it was pretty high standard. And a lot of it came from the way that they kind of like balanced, improved, and deepened the gameplay of Halo 2 versus Halo 1. It's like you go back to Halo 1 now, and it's like downright quaint. You're like, oh, this is cute. You know what I mean? So
I mean, this is when I remember like the infamous like Bungie developed like gun feel. Like people still talk about how good the guns feel.
I love it
in Bungie games. And yeah, this is when I first really started hearing people talk about that. Not in those exact words, it was too early for that, but and yeah, I understand what they mean, even as someone that doesn't play that many shooters and plays even less shooters now than I did 20 years ago. Like Bungie games, they do feel different. Like they just hit different when it comes to how the guns feel. You know, I'm not a Destiny guy. I still put like 100 hours into Destiny 2, and it was basically entirely because of how good it felt to actually just run around shooting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they make my favorite feeling shooters because they're not overly concerned with making it feel realistic, you know? Like it kind of feels stylized in a weird way. Like it like kind of follows this weird line. It's very poppy. It's very, I don't know, like there's something visceral about the feeling of playing them. Also, the movement in their games feels so good, you know, especially in something like Destiny where you're like sprinting and hovering and flying around, you know. I was way into Destiny for a long time and fell off of it very hard. But look, like even with Marathon coming out, like I have really no reason to be excited about Marathon. But if it just plays as well as the other games they've made, then I'm at least a little bit more interested in playing Marathon than I was ever interested in something like Concord, for example. You know,
sure. And yeah, regardless of anything else, the art style of Marathon is also really cool. So like those two things coupled together is like, it's at least like on my radar in a way that again, this isn't me trying to bash on Concord or anything, but you know, it makes sense to compare these two things. Yeah, I never was interested in Concord.
Right.
Whereas like Marathon at least has a little bit of my attention, even if I'm almost assuredly not going to play it at this point. But that's more about like where I am in my life with like multiplayer gaming and stuff.
Sure.
Before I like let you off the leash to just talk about whatever you want with Halo 2, I wanted to touch on, because I find it interesting you talk about how much more better balanced Halo 2 is compared to 1, because this game had a famously troubled development, like infamously troubled development. You know, I'd heard these stories for years and years, even back then, like the stories were getting around, but I never really realized how thoroughly documented this was until I looked on the Wikipedia, and they have a whole like weirdly thorough breakdown of this on the Halo 2 Wikipedia, which I found interesting. Basically, we're not going to get super into it, but it was basically just a case of Bungie being poorly managed and biting off more than they could chew. This is like a recurring theme with Bungie that has repeatedly shown up. And I think in the past like 6 years or so, it has become like insurmountable for them, is kind of what it feels like. I mean, even the fact that they were acquired by PlayStation is kind of very telling to me. This kind of culminated with Halo 2 in the fact that like the first ever gameplay footage shown of Halo 2 at E3 2003 was this stage presentation. It wasn't like journalists weren't able to play the game, but it was presented at E3. I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't realize it till today, but like they had someone playing the game live on stage, but literally behind the curtain, there was a Bungie employee like deleting objects in real time when they went off screen so that the performance wouldn't hitch and stay at an acceptable frame rate. Like that's how hot this thing was coming in at, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. I had never heard that anecdote before until today. And it's interesting to hear. And people always talk about like, oh, why didn't they, with the proliferation of like demos and online stuff, a couple years after this, why didn't they put like E3 demos onto like these virtual or these digital storefronts? Well, it's because most of these demos didn't actually work. I think basically what the reasoning was. It's also tragic because ultimately they ended up scrapping like a majority of the work they'd done for 2 years shortly after that E3 stage presentation. This led to them basically crunching for like well over a year. This also directly impacts the story and like why they had to end on a cliffhanger, which again we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a minute. But there were a few instances on the Wikipedia of examples of some of this development crunch. This one in particular was crazy to me. Design lead Paul Bertoni kenneled his dog for 2 months and basically lived at the office. That's like sad to me. Like,
that's crazy.
I mean, again, stories of crunch in the games industry is always awful, and it's just like largely getting worse and worse. But like, I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of something to that degree. Also noted that artist Lorraine McLeese would pick her baby up from daycare and then bring it back to the office with her to keep working long hours into the night. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's no good. I'd also, this last anecdote I have here about like the crunch and stuff, I never heard this before today. Microsoft was originally pushing for this game to be released in 2002, a full 2 years before the game ended up coming out, because they wanted a big launch title for Xbox Live. And like, you understand from like a certain point of view why, like, to an executive that doesn't know any better, like, yeah, why don't you just make another Halo game real quick and that'll be our like premier launch title for Xbox Live. I assume probably the vision for that would basically be Halo 1 with online multiplayer added as opposed to a full-on Halo 2. Far more alarming was this next anecdote, which was that when Bungie was telling them that they couldn't deliver in 2003, the original release date for Halo 2, Microsoft executives at one point were holding a vote on whether they would force Bungie to release the incomplete version of the game in 2003, and Ed Freeze, then the head of like Microsoft's game department, had to threaten to resign to prevent them from doing that. What was so funny to me is, you know, Xbox has been in this super weird place the entire 25 years or so they've been in the console gaming business. Especially in the last decade or so, it feels like they are just the biggest screw-ups on Earth until around the last year or so. It feels like they're starting to get a little better, you know?
Right.
But the whole time, like, researching this episode and just looking at Halo 2 and, like, remembering my fondness for Halo 2 and whatever, I was like, it seems like a miracle that this game came out at all and was received the way it was. And then I read this anecdote and I'm like, oh, it's even more of a miracle that this game came out and was received as well as it was when you have like executive meddling at that level, you know?
Right. Yeah, Ed Freeze is he's an interesting guy to like read about because I don't get to talk about this very often because I'm like mostly a Nintendo content creator. I love the original Xbox. I'm a huge, it's probably my second favorite console of all time. Like, I love the original Xbox and I know a lot about the original Xbox and I've done a lot of reading and research and stuff over the years, just consuming. And Ed Freeze was so prolific in the original Xbox's life that you hear stories of him like kind of come up. Ed Freeze was a huge champion for Psychonauts, for example, and actually all of the weirdness that happened with Psychonauts' development happened because Ed Freeze left Microsoft. Like, he was almost like the like standing guard in front of Double Fine, like because Microsoft was originally supposed to like publish Psychonauts. They ended up having to go with like Majesco because Microsoft dropped them essentially as soon as Ed Freeze wasn't there to protect them anymore, you know. And he, like, similar thing with things like Panzer Dragoon Orta and Phantom Dust. Like, Ed Freeze was a big champion for the developers that he was working with, you know, for better or for worse while he was there. And you hear stories like this all the time where he almost had to like he had to kind of like put his money where his mouth is for people like Bungie, you know, to kind of like you know, beat the drum for them. And it's interesting. Like, it's interesting to hear stories like that. And it's also, you know, not to like defend Bungie, especially, they really don't have any excuses now in the modern age, but in the time of like Halo 2's development, you have to like imagine for Bungie, they make something like Halo that people playing Halo, even before it came out, like it was originally like backed by like Apple and stuff like this. And
yeah, it was going to be like a Mac exclusive game.
Yeah,
back when it was
yeah.
first announced. Yeah.
And people are playing it, and they can realize that Bungie's making something special, and the way that all kind of happened, it ended up becoming like the original Xbox like killer app, effectively. And it was this huge revelation, and Bungie becomes this kind of like small little like indie thing in Seattle that's kind of just making it work from one project to the next, to all of a sudden they're now the biggest developers in the world, know. And they all of a sudden have like all this weight of expectation on their shoulders with Halo 2. It's like you said, it's kind of a miracle that Halo 2 got made at all, but like that it came together as competently as it did. And I do find myself, as a video game fan, a lot of my favorite games have stories like this. And I think that a lot of like the best and coolest art, and the art that feels the most human, is in some ways made by strife. Not that justifies things like crunch or these horrible stories that like you're hearing from these people. But in a weird way, like their hard work is kind of felt in the game. And like that struggle, I think of something like Majora's Mask, and like that development and how quick of a turnaround it was, and how they were forced to work within like the limitations, and and I don't know, like cool video games tend to be kind of made under these conditions, and you almost have to like accept like the like it doesn't justify what happened to those people or what they had to go through to make it, but at the same time it's like, I'll be damned if y'all didn't make something really cool with your blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah, it's at least appreciated and stuff.
Right.
And like kind of like what you said. Again, this isn't me trying to justify anything, but I think game design and development was in such a different place back then, of like,
right,
games are only just at this point starting to get to this like way more expensive level to make, right? Obviously it's nothing compared to nowadays, but they hadn't properly scaled up yet from like the PS1 and N64 days, And I think this Halo 2's development was like a byproduct of that, a very unfortunate byproduct of that. I mean, yeah, from other like interviews and stuff, it just sounds like Bungie, again, they never properly scaled up, and they specifically cited things like when it was a team of like 15 people, like the manager also being like one of the game developers, that worked fine. But when you start having teams of 30, 60, 90 people, it doesn't work anymore because people aren't trained in managing people to that scale or whatever. So it really just sounds like, I don't know, like the higher ups had their head in the sand, and that Microsoft, it sounds like they've always been like weirdly hands off with a lot of their stuff.
right.
Aside from, I guess, in this case, them potentially almost forcing them to release Halo 2. Besides that, I always, and nowadays too, I feel like I just feel that Microsoft is very hands off, but then it seems like sometimes it's to their detriment, especially at this point. But yeah, I don't know. It was just very interesting to read some of these things that I'd never heard of before, especially that demo. That demo story is wild. Before we get into the last part of this section, which is going to be just talking about the online aspect of Halo 2, is there anything you want to say about Halo 2 from like a gameplay or story standpoint in general, again, that isn't dealing with the online stuff?
Oh man, there's a lot kind of to say about Halo 2's story. I think the story of this game is fantastic for a bunch of different reasons. I think it is so cool to, there are other games that did the kind of like dual protagonist thing, or even like the, Metal Gear Solid 2 had like the famous like bait and switch, protagonist thing before Halo 2 did. And I'm sure there are other examples that I can point to, but I think it is so cool and bold for Halo 2's story to be what it is, and for Bungie to come into Halo 2 and like, tell it from the perspective of the Covenant, and like, hey, like, yeah, dude, what does happen? Like, there was a dude who was in charge of the mission on Halo. You know, from the Covenant perspective, there was a dude who was in charge of that, and he failed his mission. What kind of blowback did he get? You know? And this game explores that. And, like, the opening of Halo 2 is so damn good. It's so cool, and it's so powerful to see, like, it's the heretic hero thing, because from the perspective of the Covenant, the person who failed to protect the Covenant's interests in their faith and allowed Halo to be destroyed in the first Halo game is viewed as a heretic who needs to be literally stripped naked in front of like just a legion of people in the stands watching him. And, you know, they say, like, you know, normally we would, you know, kill you and parade you by your entrails through the city, you know. But they instead strip him naked, brand him with, like, the mark of the betrayer or whatever, and force him to take on this role of the Arbiter, which is effectively a, like, Suicide Squad-esque kind of character who, you know, is the right hand of the prophets and kind of is their assassin, but also he's gonna die anyway. So, like, it's kind of okay that he just puts his life on the line for his faith. So you have that character juxtaposed. All of that, like, terrible stuff is happening to the character that would become the Arbiter. Meanwhile, Master Chief it's literally flashing back and forth to Master Chief being, like, given medals and rewarded for his actions, being a hero to humanity in Halo 1. It's a very cool and powerful opening, and I think that, like, even before I realized it, like, even before I was able to fully appreciate it, playing this as a teenager, I was like, wow, man. Like it's so cool to see the perspective of the Covenant. It's so cool to see, like, them actually, maybe even in a weird way, showing empathy to the Covenant, who are being lied to. You know, it goes a step beyond blind faith, and, you know, there's a lot of, like, religious undertone to the entire thing, but, like, it goes a step beyond blind faith and actual, like, manipulation of the people following that faith, because at a certain point, the prophets know that the great journey and the stuff that they're preaching is going to kill them all. And they're literally given the truth and choosing to ignore it and choosing to continue to abuse their positions of power. And it's a really interesting perspective from somebody like the Arbiter, who has to learn this stuff through the lens of the player. And in Halo 3, they end up kind of coming together and working together. But I think it's a really, like, low-key brilliant way of telling this kind of story, and very bold for this to be, like, the follow-up to Halo 1. It would have made so much more sense for them to just say, yeah, dude, this is another, like, badass adventure with Master Chief. That's what you all want. And they kind of didn't do that, you know? And they also pulled it off. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, I never really heard. I don't know if you did, but growing up, I never heard anybody be like, this Arbiter guy sucks and I hated playing as him. Like, they actually they pulled it off. Like, people liked Arbiter, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because, for those that don't know, this game came just 2 years or 3 years, I guess, after Metal Gear Solid 2, which was, like, you know, people were expecting just another romp as Solid Snake, like the classic cool guy, like, protagonist. And then you ended up being forced to play as Raiden, which back then was viewed as a bait and switch, even though, like, to me, it was just that's just the game. That's the game they wanted to make and the story they wanted to tell. But people were mad about that back then, to the point where, like, half of Metal Gear Solid 4, maybe like a third, is, like, spent trying to make Raiden cooler than he was in 2 or whatever. Hey, I like Raiden. I think he's a great character.
Me too.
But the main thing I remember people being upset with Halo 2 is the abrupt ending and the cliffhanger, as opposed to playing as the Arbiter. Like you said, I'm sure there were some people out there, but I don't remember hearing anyone say, like, oh man, I can't believe I have to play as the Arbiter. Maybe in, like, the first, like, 5 minutes of it, but, like, I don't know. The Arbiter stuff is, like, what I remember the most from my time with the Halo 2 campaign.
It's definitely the coolest stuff in the game. Like, it's, you know, it's cool to play as Master Chief, but, like, the Arbiter also, like, he can go invisible, you know, which is neat. And like, there's kind of like some low key stealth stuff that you can do with him. It also is kind of cool because like the arc that the Arbiter goes on throughout the story is so much more interesting than Master Chief, because like Master Chief has a mission. He's just like a dude on a mission that knows exactly what he has to do. Arbiter's like, his opinions are changing throughout the course of the game. He's learning like what the truth of the world is. He's learning that, you know, everything that he grew up believing and everything that he put his life on the line for is a lie, you know, and he's learning the truth of everything that is happening. And he's actively choosing to kind of rally against that. And even the mark that he wears that's burned into his skin is predicated on a lie. You know, and I think he's a fantastic character, and I think that comes through to the people like the players like playing it, and I think that's why it kind of worked, is because you get so much of that texture. And I think even like because the game has empathy for the Arbiter, and by extension the rest of the people who are being led blindly to believe this thing, I think that's almost like intrinsically felt. Like, I think people kind of buy it, even if they don't realize they're buying it, you know? So I really like applaud Halo 2 for being able to do that. When it comes to the ending, I've always been a big defender of Halo 2's ending. I understand it's abrupt, and I did hear a lot of people being like, "Oh, finish the fight. I want to finish the fight now. What are you talking about?" You know, like I get it. On one hand, I do get it. On the other hand, like my reaction to it was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait for Halo 3. I can't wait to finish the fight. This is so cool."
Dude, this is, you know, somewhat related. Do you remember when Left 4 Dead came out like a few years after this? And, you know, that was a big game. People love it. Fan favorite thing, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple years later, they announced Left 4 Dead 2 and people were mad about it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, yeah, of course they're going to put in a sequel hook for Halo 2, like, or rather for Halo 3 in Halo 2, right? Like, why are we getting mad about the fact that they're going to give you another game, you know?
Right.
And I guess maybe I can see the argument if, like, you didn't play the multiplayer. Like, if you were just playing Halo and Halo 2 for the campaign, which there were a lot of people that did that back then. That might be weird to some people nowadays, like, you know, with Call of Duty being the biggest first-person shooter there is. I don't think anyone really played. I shouldn't say not anyone, but the vast majority of people are buying those games for the multiplayer. And again, I think for most people, Halo 2 was a multiplayer thing, but for a lot of people, it was a single-player game first. Like, they were coming to it mostly wanting to see a continuation of the story and, like, see stuff wrapped up, or maybe not necessarily wrapped up, but I don't know, you know, like, not that I'm someone that thinks series of any kind of in any medium should just go on forever, you know, especially like story heavy ones. Like, hey, maybe Halo should have ended a while ago, but that's speaking to it now in 2025. Back then, of course, we're going to get at least like 3 or 4 of these things, you know, like, I also thought that was weird. Again, if people didn't like the abruptness of the ending or didn't like certain aspects of the story, I get it, but like, it always felt weird to me that people were mad about the finish the fight thing. It's like, yeah, man, their Xbox 360 is out in like a year. Like, of course they're going to make Halo 3 for that thing, and then they're going to end the trilogy. Like, I don't know. What more do you want?
Yeah, it's weird to me because I compare it to something like Star Wars Empire Strikes Back or something, where like there's such a good build of escalation, and there's such a, like, to me it feels so satisfying. Like, everything leading up to that ending, the entire game is like this race against the misguided Covenant who want to activate Halo and, you know, and wipe out, you know, all the life, cause this like mass extinction event, which is actually like what the Halo ring's purpose is for like mass extinction, to fight this ancient race of alien xenomorphs called the Flood. And then, like, throughout the events of Halo 2, this like eldritch, like ancient creature known as the Gravemind, like, who is so cool. Like, what a cool character, what a cool like performance from D. Bradley Baker. Like, he's this big, like, kind of, I don't know, Venus flytrap looking dude who's like wormed into like every aspect of the Halo ring and everything, and he also like kind of controls the Flood and stuff, and anyway, it's neat because like the setup of that game is like we're trying to get to the index, which is like the little key that activates Halo. We're trying to get that before the Covenant do. Also, the Flood are trying to take over and infect like everything, because that's their purpose. They're like it's to eat and multiply, essentially, is the Flood's only purpose. And so like they eventually make their way onto an Amberclad, which then makes its way to High Charity, which is like the Covenant, like holy city, like the capital city of the Covenant, now being completely taken over by the Flood. And essentially Chief has to leave Cortana behind while like he goes and chases down the Prophets. And Cortana's like, hey, I gotta stay behind, because if this doesn't work, like if they wind up activating the ring, I have to blow up High Charity to like offset all of that, and make sure the Flood doesn't escape. Like, and so there's like all this stuff going on at the same time. Arbiter is trying to convince Tartarus that the Prophets are lying, and Tartarus is like, even though he has all the evidence, he has 343 Guilty Spark, like literally telling him, like, hey, no, like this is what's actually happening. He refuses to believe it. Like he blindly is like, no, I'm still gonna do this. And you end up stopping him, obviously, and then the Halo does not get activated. But then Guilty Spark reveals that, oh hey, actually there's a bunch of Halo rings, and now they're all waiting to be activated from this central location called the Ark. So that's where Chief has to go to make sure that like 7 Halo rings are not just activated all at once. You know what I mean? And to me, that's really cool. To me, that's like a cool build of escalation that feels like everything just got deeper and bigger and more complex all at once, and it just becomes so much more layered. And it made me excited to see where that conclusion was going to go. I wasn't really, even back then, expecting to like see that play out, nor would I have wanted to see that play out within Halo 2. Like, I want this to be like, that is a big enough story to tell on its own, So like that, like I needed, like I came into the ending of Halo 2 even back then being like, okay, like I'm ready for Return of the Jedi, basically, like I'm ready for that. I'm ready for the conclusion, but I wasn't sitting there whining that I didn't have it now.
There is, I mean, yeah, we've talked about before, like gamer babies are just super impatient about like everything and super whiny about stuff. And like, I get the idea that like waiting a few years for a sequel, it can suck. And, back then games came out faster. There was only a 3-year wait from Halo 2 to Halo 3, which is actually kind of crazy to think about nowadays. And nowadays, we waited like what, 15 years for Kingdom Hearts 3, like sometimes it does suck to end on like a cliffhanger and not have it followed up on for super long. But I guess with Kingdom Hearts, they even had all these side games that kind of would advance the story in little baby steps each time. But, maybe in hindsight, the same people that were complaining about the abruptness of the ending wouldn't complain now, knowing what they do. I do want to take a break, I think, before we talk about the online multiplayer aspect real quick.
Okay.
But was there anything else you wanted to say about like Halo 2 in general, like from a gameplay standpoint and from a story standpoint? Any final remarks that you want to get off defending Halo 2 from all the haters out there? The infamously hated game Halo 2.
Oh yeah, the very underrated and hated game Halo 2. Yeah, no, I just think that the story is so bold and cool. I think that it is a very cool kind of like reflection on empathy for misguided people and blind faith and the nature of faith. I think is really cool and interesting. I think the Arbiters are an amazing character. I think that the escalation of the story is fantastic. I think all the new characters they add, even Miranda Keyes, I think a lot of people hate on Miranda Keyes. I think she's a great character. Like, following in her father's footsteps and having to like kind of be like the new kind of commander after he like horrifically dies in Halo 1. I think she's a great character, and a lot of people, I can't imagine why, but a lot of gamers hated on her for basically no reason. And I don't know. I love this game, and I love the story of this game. I will say the brutes still suck. Like the brutes in Halo 2 are awful. Like still. And I don't mean as characters. I mean like fighting them in Halo 2 in the campaign. Like I actually forgot like how bad it was. Like they're so bullet spongy, and also they'll just one-shot you. Like they'll just hit you and you'll die. Even on normal. Like I just played through again on normal. And I'm like, dude, coming into like the last 2 levels of the game, like it's rough. The brutes really suck to fight in Halo 2. But otherwise
I feel like that's like a recurring theme with Halo campaigns, is like the last couple levels they really start like ramping it up. Like I remember people complain about like the flood fights near the end of 1 and stuff. And
yeah.
there was one little story in the Wikipedia article. I didn't write it down. I didn't know where else to put it. But since you specifically brought up Miranda Keyes, there was a note about like when they were working on the story. An early version of the game had Miranda Keyes strapping a bomb to Master Chief's back and then kicking him down a hole because of the fact that he let her dad die in the first game, and that they were saying that like the story writer was going through a real bad breakup at the time, and that's where that was coming from.
Wow. Yeah.
I just love that was in the Wikipedia article. I thought that was very funny.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I better. This is just like what my ex did to me.
Yeah, the that's metaphorical funny. Strapping a bomb to my back and kicking me down a hole.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff like that, and you know, like look, this is like the early to mid 2000s. So if you like look at old interviews and stuff with even like Joe Staten, like the one of the writers of Halo and kind of the lore master of Halo, he says a bunch of weird stuff like Cortana is basically your girlfriend, you know, like a bunch of like just weird cringy stuff like that. So
I mean, that does explain how every game Cortana looks more and more tantalizing. Is that the word I want to use? Like,
sure.
Let me just get rid of all subtlety. They really sex Cortana up every single game. She gets more and more sexed up, and it's weird because she's just this AI lady that lives in your helmet.
She's already a naked AI lady. Like it's already, you know, it's already pretty bad. But Cortana actually has a cool arc in this game too, because again, Chief has to leave her behind. It's the first time that they've been like separated, and Gravemind, who is this wealth of ancient knowledge, and Cortana, who is this AI in the lore of Halo, has like a finite kind of amount of data that she can store before she becomes like more and more self-aware and achieves this state called rampancy, where she eventually has so much uncontrollable knowledge and data that she can't control it and begins to essentially like short circuit. And that's what leads into the events of like Halo 4 and 5 and stuff like this. But and they ended up retconning all of that in Halo Infinite, which was super sick. But like they don't get me off on that. She's a cool character removed from the whole "this is my AI girlfriend" thing. It's really annoying when people get hung up on that.
I've literally never heard anything about what the Halo Infinite story is about, so hearing that they retconned the previous 2 games is very funny. That's literally the first I've ever heard anyone talk about the Infinite story.
I can tell you off recording. We shouldn't get into it now. We've already gone way longer than I even thought we would by this point. But yes, there's a lot of weird stuff they do with Halo Infinite that completely retcons the Cortana character.
Hey, maybe in a few years we'll get around to a Halo Infinite episode of Bit Harmony. Does it have good music?
Yeah, I think you know, I think was it Gareth Coker that composed that? I think it might have been, or at least like worked on it. Yeah, it's good, but I don't know if it's like you know, worthy of a Bit Harmony episode.
If it's Bit Harmony good, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Bit Harmony
good. Let's go on a break then. We're gonna listen to Impend. This was composed by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori, and then First Movement of the Odyssey, and then in parentheses Follow, which the follow part of that song becomes very important. And that was by Incubus, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're going to listen to Impend and First Movement of the Odyssey Follow, and we'll be back. That was Impend by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori, and First Movement of the Odyssey, Follow by Incubus from Halo 2. So yeah, obviously we gotta say Follow for the. We gotta talk about Impend first. I'll just note, I do like how bittersweet Impend starts off.
Yeah.
This song really like it brought me back to the mindset of where I was in like the mid 2000s, especially when it comes to like other media at the time. Like this song made me think and remember that like, oh yeah, like the Star Wars prequels were still coming out at this time, like Revenge of the Sith hadn't even come out yet. And like we just had the Matrix trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know, Halo was this like massive, huge thing that was poised to carry on like that torch, like, and in a lot of ways it did. Like Halo 2 did kind of, it felt like the movie industry kind of capitulated to the games industry in terms of like the amount of money it was bringing in at this point. Like this was really the turning point for like blockbuster games. Like the hype for this game and the series in general was like unreal at this point. Again, we talked about it quite a bit, and like we talked about the novels and stuff that people swore by at the time. It just all felt so monumental, and then it's kind of sad then to look back at it all now and where Halo as a series is now. And I know that all that has like nothing to do with the song, but something about the song reminded me of like just sci-fi media from the 2000s in general. That's why all that went through my head at 6 a.m. when I was making these notes.
No, yeah, sure. That all makes sense, and I agree. And this song too, it's one of the first like big emotional like swell songs that and also like, I don't know, it's weird because like it starts with an emotional swell and you think it's gonna be this big emotional piece. And then by the time the beat hits around like that 32 second mark, you realize that it's not really that, but it's also not that, like
Mm-hmm.
it's very like percussive and like getting up to something kind of, this is the give the Covenant back their bomb moment, is when this song kind of plays at the beginning of the game. And yeah, like I'm with you. Like this is definitely the era where like games felt like they were kind of being taken a little bit more seriously, this is the era of like, you remember like Video Games Live, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm,
Like like live performances, like they would play like Halo music like this at Video Games Live and stuff. And yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, to that point, like that's what got people like, we'll talk about Follow here in a second, but that's what got people like Incubus interested in Halo 2. Like Halo 1's music was so beloved, and like Halo 1 in general was so beloved that like musicians wanted to get involved with Halo 2. Like they didn't go tracking down Incubus and Breaking Benjamin and Hoobastank. Like they came to them. Like they had celebrities and musicians wanting to like visit because, like the music was taken so much more seriously. Like there's an unused track for Halo 2, a piano piece that Justin Timberlake plays piano on.
Huh. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the end credits song of Halo 2, like when you finish the game and the credits roll, it's Impend, like it plays Impend again, except it's got this little like kind of freestyle, like noodly, very clean sounding electric guitar playing over it. That's John Mayer playing the guitar over that.
Okay, that's insane.
Like John Mayer came in and said, "Hey, I would love to be on this." And I think Marty O'Donnell, I heard like somewhere over the years an interview with Marty O'Donnell where he talked about like not really knowing like where to fit him in, and he essentially just had him like, yeah, just freestyle some guitar over Impend, and that's the end credits song. So it's like, to your point about like all that stuff crystallizing in that era, it's interesting that Impend is the one that kind of like makes you think of that, because I think it is like, it's true. Like that's kind of when video games and video game music like kind of reached that new level,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have too much else about the actual song. I just
Same.
I like the industrial sounds. I mean, but that's a recurring theme throughout the whole soundtrack and stuff. Um, with Follow, I really don't have much here. I was not expecting this. This is not. I didn't remember this at all. The fact that this apparently plays during an escort mission is one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I mentioned it before. I had an aversion to electric guitar stuff. I don't. If I'm honest, this might be the only Incubus song I've ever listened to, frankly. So, like, I didn't have this phase, and I don't have the nostalgia. And I apparently don't remember the song from the actual game. So, like, I just don't. I don't have much here. I just thought this is very unexpected and fun. And maybe this is probably more so like what people who aren't familiar with Halo music think Halo music is.
Sure. Man, that's surprising. I wouldn't say that I've ever been like a massive Incubus fan, but I love their Drive is an awesome song. I love that song. I will say, when I first started playing in my own bands, when I was a teenager, we had a little band, and we had put together like a 3-song kind of like EP or whatever you would call it. We didn't even call it that. It was just like us making songs and putting it, like pressing it on a CD. And it's really funny because like when we showed it to one of our friends for the first time, she thought it was Incubus. She was like, "Is this like some like a new Incubus song or something?" And so weirdly enough, Incubus has followed me a little bit in my life. And this song in general was like, I'm glad I replayed the game leading up to this episode, because I forgot about this song until this like replay. I was like, oh man, right. Like this song is in the game. Like it's not just because there are some songs that like don't actually play in the game. And in fact, the vocalized part of this song, like the follow, like that's not even in the game itself. Like they don't play that part in the game.
Maybe that's why I don't remember it then, because that would change things for me.
Yeah, that isn't in the game. It is kind of funny that like that it's like that, because like in this moment in the game, I mean, hey, you are following someone, so it kind of tracks. But there's in this moment in the game, the Arbiter. This is the Arbiter's first big mission. He's being sent to kill somebody that the prophets have deemed a heretic, because he's learned the truth and he's like dared to speak out against it, right? So he and his followers are like hiding in this like station in the middle of like a massive like tornado storm in space, like whatever is going on there, and like Arbiter's there to kill him. Like he's there to assassinate him. Even though they're just like kind of speaking their truth, they're deemed a heretic and they need to be silenced, as far as the prophets see it. So Arbiter is chasing this dude down. It ends up feeling kind of like a slapdash chase sequence or something, like oh my god, even though this entire station is falling apart and there's this massive storm coming, I have to kill this guy, And so it ends up feeling like this kind of funny, like this song has this weird like electric guitar, like Spanish flamenca like vibes, like this kind of like it's very weird, but like in the moment in the game, I was like, oh man, like that's right, I forgot about this, and it kind of works. Like I don't know.
When we're off this podcast, I'm gonna have to listen to an instrumental version of the song on my own then, and see how I feel about it, and picture it like fitting into Halo, because I literally thought that the lyrics full on played in the game. So
they do not. No.
So now I need to like recontextualize it for myself and listen to the instrumental version. But yeah, it was fun. When I was making notes for these songs, I was not expecting this to be playing. I knew it was made by Incubus, but yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be a bunch of follow. Like it just wasn't. It wasn't what I was expecting.
Well, it's funny because like Breaking Benjamin did a song called "Blow Me Away," which is kind of like one of the like. Blow Me Away is actually when you get into like, okay, this is too much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you've heard that song, but that actually does play in Halo 2 as well. And like even on the replay, I'm like, okay, we've gone a little too far. Like like Follow is about as much of this as I'll allow while still thinking it's cool and works. When you get to Blow Me Away, it's a moment where Master Chief is sent to High Charity, the Covenant capital, and you're like just facing down a bunch of like hunters, and it's just it's so stupid. Like it feels dumb even in the moment. And they don't play the lyrics, like the actual vocals of the song are not played in that moment either. But I will say, and this is something that I wanted to talk about in this episode anyway, so maybe this is just the best place for it. I remember when Halo 3 came out, I was playing with my cousin in co-op, and we were doing the final mission of Halo 3. Do you remember Halo 3's final mission where you're in the Warthog and you're having to drive, and like you're like everything's exploding around you, and like the platforms are falling, and you're having to like make your way to this ship, and it's like a very like narrow escape kind of sequence, you know?
No, I definitely did not play through the whole campaign of 3.
Okay. It's a very like, you know, it's supposed to be this very like epic, climactic kind of moment. And my cousin and I were playing co-op in the game for the first time on Legendary. And my cousin was insistent. And I should say too, my cousin is diagnosed OCD. He was insistent on playing Blow Me Away, like while we were doing the mission. And like every time we would die, we were playing on Legendary, so we died a lot. He would restart the song. So like he really wanted that song to be playing while we were doing the final mission of Halo 3. And it's like this, again, cheesy Breaking Benjamin, only the strongest will survive. It's so stupid. And he's just playing it on repeat. And eventually I had to snap at him. I'm like, dude, I can't take it anymore. Like, you must stop.
Yeah, that is the most like teenager in 2007 story I can possibly imagine. Like
I couldn't take it.
Yeah, I don't think I have any story like that in regards to like any video game. I think now, granted, I didn't play any of these on Legendary. I know that's how a lot of people like experiencing the Halo 2 co-op and even single player.
You gotta do your lasso run. You got to do the lasso run.
But yeah, I don't have any story like that. I'm grateful for it. I don't think I could handle playing Halo on Legendary with my cousin, putting a Breaking Benjamin song on repeat.
Yeah.
Not just repeat, but restarting it every time we died. I think that literally would be my Breaking Benjamin moment. I would become Benjamin and I would break.
Yeah,
at that point.
I was broken at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, he really blew you away. Real quick, we got to talk about this. Halo 2, from a video game perspective, I think undeniably the thing that it had the biggest impact, or the thing from Halo 2 that made the biggest impact, was it's online. Like,
yeah.
in all facets. Like, it's hard to explain this to someone now, especially if you're primarily a console gamer. But back then, 25 years ago, when you're playing online games, like, you are not being automatically put into matches generally. I don't know if Halo 2 was the first online game with automated matchmaking. If it's not the first, it's certainly one of the first.
Yeah.
Like, when you would go play a game online, you'd have to like go into select a server and find your own room and stuff. Now, that's just the way things were back then. And I did plenty of online gaming that way back then. I know there are some online games that still have that functionality. I know like Roblox, you have to do your own stuff. I know Minecraft, you can do like it. I understand not every game is like automatic matchmaking now, but from a like competitive game standpoint, unless you're purposely going into private lobbies now, I don't know that there's games that don't have automated matchmaking anymore, because it just makes sense. But yeah, I have very, very vivid memories of playing Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun in like 2000 or 2001. and having to find my own server, and like some servers were more populated than other servers, and then having to go into rooms, and you couldn't just start the game. Like you going into a match room, you would be in a chat room basically, and like we were coming up with like gentlemen's agreements, me and the person hosting the game, of like, okay, I won't do this or this or this, and you won't do this, and it's going to be, if it was a 4-player match, it's like, it was always a WVE, like West versus East, like you would ally with the person you ran into on the West and stuff, like,
yeah,
like it was all these like extra steps, you know, like online gaming always sounded like a good idea. Like even when I was very young and was just understanding the concept of playing games online with strangers, I'm like, this is a cool idea, but it's very easy to see why it wasn't hitting the mainstream, regardless of like, you know, internet not being as ubiquitous as it is now. It was just cumbersome. Like who wants to like be in a chat room and like sit there for 5 minutes and come up with gentlemen's agreements with strangers online before you can like build forts and stuff. Halo 2's matchmaking was like downright revolutionary at the time. Like you if I remember correctly, you just select the playlist that you want,
yeah,
and it gets you in a match. Obviously, sometimes it would take longer than others or whatever, but it felt incredible at the time. It genuinely, that was one of my gaming moments. I think for the first time since Mario 64, that was like, oh, this is I'm stepping into the future moment with video games, playing Halo 2 online for the first time. And it was solely because of the matchmaking. And again, it sounds super basic now. I understand that. But back then, this was revolutionary. And despite how simple and obvious that sounds now, again, on Wikipedia, I saw that there was a note that when they had like a Microsoft employees beta testing the game, a bunch of employees at Microsoft were like, no, I don't like this matchmaking. You need to go back to the normal server select stuff.
mm-hmm.
And to be fair, it sounds like, yeah, when it was closed beta testing, it didn't work the same way it would when there's like a wider pool of a much, much, much wider pool of people to draw from. But yeah, imagine if they had listened, man. Like Halo 2 not only changed gaming, it literally like pushed gaming over into like the deep end when it comes to online, and it's solely because of how good the matchmaking was.
Yeah, no, it did feel like a revolution. It felt like a whole new like world was opened up to us at that time. Like it felt weird. It felt crazy to me. I remember like the big Xbox Live like bundles that you had to buy. Like you would have to get this box that had like a headset in it, and like, you know, like Xbox Live wasn't just like it was like an actual like card, like this thing that like, I don't know, like it felt like a big deal. You would go to the store and buy it and bring it home. It was like enshrouded in a case of plastic, and you know, I don't know, like it felt like you were tapping into some other like functionality, like oh, like I can't even believe my Xbox can do this. You know,
right?
Like it felt weird and crazy. And yeah, like even the communal elements that Halo 2 kind of inspired, like I mentioned that we like you could form a clan, and we had I think I might have mentioned this in the mid 2000s episode too, but we had a clan in Halo 2, and like the gimmick of our clan was everybody had Darth something in front of their name, because you know, this is the mid 2000s, we're all obsessed with Star Wars. So my friend Tyler was the clan leader, and like I was in the clan. We had like a hierarchy, you know, and we had practice every weekend, and like we would go to, if we couldn't go to people's houses and do it over on LAN, we would do it over Xbox Live. Very dumb and stupid, but it was so fun. Like those are very precious memories for me, and like the you know just facilitating that level of online play that again seems quaint now, because yeah, of course now you can just get on and play Fortnite with your friends whenever you want to, but that was not really a thing back then, especially not on consoles, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And again, if it was there, it wasn't nearly as automated as it is now. Like it genuinely, it was way more cumbersome. Like even though Xbox Live came out in 2002, I don't really remember anyone that I knew that had an Xbox that actually played anything on Xbox Live until Halo 2. And then all of a sudden, everyone had to play Halo 2 online. Like everyone with an Xbox all of a sudden had Xbox Live. Like that's just, if you owned an Xbox, and you weren't playing Halo 2 online, like you were weird. And to be frank, yeah, you were, because that was the whole reason to own one at that point. And yeah, obviously Halo 2 Online was instantly the most popular game on Xbox Live for 2 straight years until Gears of War on Xbox 360 in 2006. Though writing that this morning, it felt very weird to me, the fact that there was only 2 years in between Halo 2 and Gears of War. It felt like there was like, I don't know, like an entire console generation between those games to me back then. But yeah, it was just 2 years. Worth noting, Halo 2 Online was so popular that it actually caused Microsoft problems with being able to update Xbox Live. The main one I remember is that people wanted like a bigger, they wanted to be able to add more friends. There was like a max like 50 friends or something back then, and people really wanted a bigger limit on friends. And Microsoft was like, yeah, we want to do that, but too many people are playing Halo 2 on Xbox Live on the original Xbox, even well into the Xbox 360 generation, that we literally can't. Like, we have to shut down the servers for Halo 2 to be able to update this feature, you know? So again, like that's just how big Halo 2 was for like at least half a decade. Like, that's all people were playing on Xbox Live. A bunch of people never even bothered or took a long time to upgrade their Xboxes to Xbox 360s, because why would I upgrade? I got Halo 2 right here, you know?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, service for the original version of Halo 2 ended, along with all other original Xbox games, in 2010. However, you can play the like remastered version of Halo 2 on the Master Chief Collection nowadays. Did you have any other specific moments you wanted to share with your online time with Halo 2?
Yeah, I mean, Halo 2, again, we played so much of it. I don't know that I have like a ton of specific things to shout out. Just those clan matches, and like I remember there was multiple weekends where we would just play Halo 2 for like 16 hours straight. Like, I'm not kidding. It was like we would play, take a nap, and then wake up and keep playing. Like, I would come home from those sessions feeling like I was like coming home from war or something. Like, I remember like I would walk in the door to like my parents' house, and my mom would look at me and she'd be like, "Oh my God." You know, like she would look at me and say like, you look like your eyes are sunken, you know, like you look gaunt or something, like malnourished, you know. You've lived on nothing but Mountain Dew and pizza for, 4 days, and all you've done is played Halo 2 and slept a combined 5 hours.
I mean, again, I didn't even own an Xbox at the time, or I've never owned an Xbox, but specifically the summer of 2005, I basically lived at my best friend's house for like 2 months. And he had a very big basement bedroom, very classic 14, 15-year-old kid thing to have back then. And we just spent most of that summer just sitting there playing Halo 2 online. Like, again, not even necessarily just as enjoying it as a game, but it was also like a socializing thing. Like, we'd get on there just like talk to our friends and voice chat and stuff. Like, this was like this is like the first, from what I remember, at least large-scale console gaming wise, this is like the first shared gaming experience on a wide scale like this, you know? It really was magical. Like, I can't think of a better word for it. It was like straight up, this was a cultural thing at the time, especially if you were a teenager back then.
Yeah.
Though, speaking of that, the last things I really wanted to touch on personally, I know Seth has other stuff, but was how Microsoft was kind of angling for Halo 2 to be a big, significant cultural thing.
Sure.
And they definitely succeeded, as you've heard over the past like hour and a half. For one, this is the first ARG marketing campaign that I remember. I'm not saying that it didn't exist before, but this is the first one I remember getting like a big, widespread attention. If you don't know, ARG is alternate reality game. I think that's what it stands for. Basically, they have this site, I Love Bees. I don't know if it's .com or .net or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looked like a crappy homemade GeoCities website of the era, presumably about like bees and beekeeping and stuff. But hidden on the website was like basically marketing stuff for Halo 2 and its story. It was something like the story was like there's a rogue AI in the code of the website or something, if I remember. Yep. And yeah, people were having to decipher puzzles and like group together and figure stuff out. You see this much more like later on, like Seth and I on the break, we were talking about Cloverfield and that big ARG, like that was a huge thing. ARGs were, like I said, definitely a bigger thing like a decade after Halo 2, but I Love Bees was pretty big back then. Like, I didn't participate in it beyond visiting the website and thinking it was neat for what it was, but even as a 14-year-old, I'm like, I don't really feel like spending my time deciphering very cryptic puzzles to get like lore pieces on Halo 2, you know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I didn't get like super into this either. But I will say that like you know, like I always liked reading like the updates of it and stuff like that. And Bungie's really good. Even though I don't think Bungie like actually developed I Love Bees. Nor do I think they even consider it canon necessarily, but they you know, they're really good about like I don't know, like the deeper surrounding lore of ODST, I think is, or not of Halo. I bring up ODST because ODST kind of leans into this a little bit. Like ODST kind of felt like this, and we'll talk about this more on the ODST mini, but ODST kind of felt like this interesting, like, I don't know, expansion of that stuff. Like it felt like this kind of like just the deepening of like Halo's lore and like exploring these little like unexplored avenues and back alleys of Halo. And weirdly, stuff like I Love Bees achieved that same thing, but something like ODST like did it in a more official capacity in a way that people could actually like engage with, even if you weren't like an online gremlin or something like that. So it's cool that like that Bungie leans into that. At the same time, they're also really good about releasing like video documentaries that they called vidocs, about the development of Halo, you know, and you kind of felt like you got to know the game and like the people that made it on a little bit more of a deeper level. Like Bungie would put like little personal touches in the game. Like, you know, there would be little stuff like you would get like a bull true in the game, which is if you kill somebody with a shotgun while they lunge at you with a sword, if you kill them before they kill you, you get something called a bull true. And then like it would say like Luke owes you a steak dinner, you know, or something like that, you know.
I kind of remember that, yeah.
Yeah, like little stuff, like they would like that stuff would kind of, I don't know, like work its way in, and they would kind of like, I don't know, like make the developers known, and you get to know their personalities a little bit. And I don't know, I always thought that stuff was so cool, and it was really you know, the first time that I think that game development was kind of like revealed to me as like a teenager, like seeing how games were actually made, you know. And that stuff was really cool and impactful. And I think even now as I do voiceover work, like seeing the voice actors working on Halo 2 and the behind the scenes vidoc that came with the like collector's edition of Halo 2, came with like a behind the scenes like DVD or whatever. Seeing the voice actors work on the game, I was like, oh man, like this is cool. Like it got me really interested in voice acting really for the first time, and seeing the way that like it was the game was developed behind the scenes, and they get into like the tumultuous development and all that stuff. It's documented and they put it out there. And anyway, between stuff like I Love Bees, between stuff like ODST, and between vidocs and all this stuff, I think it's really cool that Bungie has like, I don't know, laid bare not only the lore of Halo and the stuff surrounding it, but also the people that make it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, that kind of stuff, like documentaries about making games, much more common nowadays, though not as common as you'd think, I feel like.
Yeah.
Or not as common as they should be, maybe. Back then, you like never saw this. So yeah, it genuinely is cool. Like I remember watching that DVD. I don't remember anything specific about it, but on my friend's copy of it, and yeah, just being kind of not exactly enamored. I think I didn't have, I don't know, the I wasn't worshiping game developers yet. That would be a few years later, but I still found it very fascinating. And yeah, it's just cool that it existed in the first place. But yeah, I Love Bees got recognized by sources like outside of the video game sphere. Like it won a damn Webby, and now I want to know where my Webby's at. Webby's.
Yeah.
Also, I had a note here. Uh, again, this doesn't exactly fit anywhere. I just thought it was funny from the Wikipedia. In quotes, it says, there was a Halo 2 celebrity pre-release party at E3 2004, which, side note, this would have been like 5 months before the game was coming out, so it's funny that they had a pre-release party at E3, in which a private home was transformed to replicate the world of Halo, complete with camouflaged marines and roaming Cortanas. And I just really loved the phrase roaming Cortanas.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just another example of like just how big of a deal Microsoft was trying to make this thing, position it as, and again, they were successful with it. And yeah, roaming Cortanas, absolutely incredible. In regards to like again the impact of Halo and stuff, and like the hype pre-release, the last thing I really wanted to mention was just I have this very specific memory. Again, I was a freshman in high school when Halo 2 came out, and I remember in one of my classes, some kid there had brought, on launch day, on November 9th, 2004, had brought his instruction booklet for the game to school and was like reading it and showing his friend and stuff. And they were both like, oh man, I can't wait to like, get out of school and play it. It's very cute to think about like that kid's mom took him to GameStop either at midnight or whatever, or that morning to get the game, but didn't let him stay home from school, you know, and like he had to come to school and just like show off his instruction booklet to his buddies. I don't know. I think that's very cute. Even back then, I'm like, there's something very charming about that. Like, you know, I didn't play many shooters back then. I play less of them now. But there was something funny about like, yeah, people are just excited to play this shooter. Like again, I didn't have the respect or reverence for Halo as like a storytelling device as I do now. But in my head, it was just like this big shooter that people were excited for. But I'm like, yeah, there's something cute about this kid that he just really wants to get out of school and play Halo with his friends. But that was kind of the last thing I really wanted to talk about in this section. What else did you have before we take our next break?
Well, yeah, real quick. I have a pretty similar memory to you in regards to that. My friend Tyler, he picked up his copy of Halo 2 before going to school that day. Like he came into school late because he wanted to be there when GameStop opened to get his copy of Halo 2. And his parents let him do that, but he did still have to go to school afterwards. So I remember him bringing into computer lab, like his collector's edition, which came in like a steel book with the big blue like 2 on it and everything. And I remember him like he opened it like there in computer lab, and yeah, we all like gathered around him as he was looking through the manual. And you know, I remember that like we were all so stoked to like get off of school so that we could go home and like play it for the first time. This is on launch day, you know, and it's funny. Like I have a pretty similar memory to that. I don't know if we wanted to do we want to get into the Marty O'Donnell stuff here? Do we want to talk about this?
It's up to you. I'm not even that familiar with the exact circumstances of what went on beyond it sounds like he was a sex pest, among other things. I know the kind of crazy he is now, but I don't know exactly what all started it.
Sure. We don't need to get super in the weeds on this. I mostly just want to bring it up because I want to make it very clear. And we mentioned this on the last episode too. I want to make it very clear just as like a statement of intent, or just like how like us as people and our views and our like the things that we have as personal virtues or whatever. Yeah, Marty O'Donnell, not a good person, a very, very talented composer that undeniably composed iconic video game music. Like there's no denying that. But yeah, like has kind of long been kind of a problem. And he had like a big blow up with Bungie after Destiny 1 came out. where he got fired from Bungie. And yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff and rumors about why. I don't know how substantiated those things are, but TLDR, he was fired from Bungie, and he sued Bungie in like 2015 or something, because he was like, hey, like I am still owed my shares and like all of my unpaid, my back pay and all this stuff. And the court, he actually won that lawsuit and he was paid out and everything. But the court said, hey, like Bungie and Microsoft and whoever like still own all of this music, and so Marty then, like, I don't know, a couple years later started just uploading the music on his personal like Bandcamp and like charging for it, and like his personal YouTube and stuff, which like obviously that's not okay. He also got banned from like a bunch of different subreddits, like the Halo and Destiny subreddits. He got banned from them because he would do AMAs and then just like for every like question he would answer, he would just be plugging his own stuff, like he would just be trying to get people to like give him money, basically.
The classic like pipeline to alt-right grifter, basically.
Yeah, essentially. And so then he did end up just becoming a straight up alt-right grifter, where now he's like a huge, supporter of like Trump and Elon. And if you go to his like personal Twitter, it's virtually all he talks about, and even actually did run for Nevada's like congressional seat. He came in 4th place. So not a huge threat as it turns out politically anyway. But like you go on his Twitter now and he's tweeting like he's saying like defund Elmo.
When we were like getting ready for this episode and you checked his Twitter account just to see what he was talking about, and that was one of the more recent things you saw, I'm like, yeah, this like I knew he was not a good dude, but that specifically, I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's I mean, I don't know that I really have the like, that is a level of crazy beyond what I'm used to, and I'm used to some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, like we really are not even like living in the same reality at this point, and again, I can disagree with somebody politically all I want, but like then people are talking about like just weird and dangerous things and whatever. We don't need to like get into the weeds on it. All of this to just say that while while we're here and like it's been fun to talk about the music and celebrate the music and stuff, and again, undeniably iconic stuff that he made, he's not a good person, and we don't endorse him or his political views we obviously don't agree with or anything like that. So it was worth stopping and mentioning that, at least for a brief moment.
Yeah, especially since we always try and talk as much as we can about composers, and this time we kind of had brushed over it. So yeah, I think it was worth sticking on it for at least a little while. But and yeah, also a reminder that bad people can still make good art. We're looking at you, Ariel Pink. You put out some real good stuff, but you're a damn whack job. Let's go on our last break of the episode. Then we're gonna break for Heavy Price Paid and Earth City, both composed once again by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori. And we'll be back. and that was Heavy Price Paid and Earth City, both from Halo 2 and both composed by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori. For Heavy Price Paid, I thought this was very, very beautiful. Like in a way, that like the other tracks that you picked, it's beautiful in like a somber way. Like the name Heavy Price Paid is very appropriate because I can imagine listening to this that there was indeed a heavy price paid. Again, it makes me think of how we keep talking about how Halo has a different soundtrack than people that don't know what Halo sounds like are expecting. And I think this is maybe the ultimate example of that for me. It feels like something you'd hear out of a movie more than a video game. And usually when I say that, I am saying it in like a not praising way, but here I do mean it in a praising way.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but like one of the things that I love so much about Halo 2, and it's really funny that we're talking about this coming fresh off of talking about Marty O'Donnell, because like Halo 2 pays so much consideration and even gives like some measure of empathy to misled people and people who are like being made to believe something that isn't true and even are actuated in harmful ways because of it. A lot like Trump does. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of, like the corollaries are sort of there, right? Like the people who are misled and made to believe something and even driven to, to violent extremes over, blind faith or believing in something, and Halo 2 kind of considers that. And Heavy Price Paid is like, you're right. It is like a sort of sorrowful and like mournful song. It is the soundtrack. Like this is the song that kind of plays when like the elites are being taken from their station. It's like the soundtrack of like having your entire way of life and thinking being ripped away from you, and like what that means for your place and your purpose, both for the Covenant and the elites and Arbiter, but also for humanity. And I don't know, man, like I felt like I had to include this because it's also part of the Halo 2 main menu music. The main menu of the Halo games, it's always so iconic, like people, very famously, and it was nice to read online that other people do this. Like I would just leave Halo running on my TV, just to let the music play. And I want to give a shout out here on the show to a website that somebody made. It's called Halo Menu. It's halome.nu, Halo Menu. And you can just like have a Halo menu playing on your computer, and you can select which Halo game you want and just leave it playing on a loop on your computer. And it kind of rules.
I love websites like that. I know there's an Animal Crossing one that plays like the hourly music based on your the real time clock, and I think you can select the different Animal Crossing games. That stuff rules.
Yeah. So like Heavy Price Paid, like it has a lot of. I wanted to put this towards the end of the episode because I think it has a lot of like the sort of themes that I really appreciate and extract from Halo's story, but also feels very iconic to Halo 2, like as a game because of its main menu placement.
With Earth City, I think we touched on this a little bit ago, but the main marketing thing I remembered from Halo 2, they were really, really hyping up the fact that you were going to go to Earth in this game, that you were going to be fighting to protect Earth from like Covenant invasion in this. And the song really has the juice in that regard. Like it feels more bombastic than a lot of other stuff in the game, but also it still has this twinge of anxiety to it that I find very interesting. And I imagine it's a very anxiety-inducing situation to protect Earth from an alien invasion.
Yeah, well, even like for this one, like. Yeah, like it's an alien invasion. There's this massive like robot called like a scarab that's like blowing up, New Mombasa. Meanwhile, the Prophet of Regret is like giving chase, and like Miranda Keyes is like choosing to follow their ship like through a slip space rupture that is going to leave behind a massive explosion that like craters the city. By the way, speaking of ODST, like that explosion that blows up that city, you go there in ODST, which is, it's very cool. Anyway, it's such a sick song. Like, just like, you're right. Like, it feels very triumphant, but also anxious. Like that little like string passage, that dun 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 dun, like that feels very like anxious, chasey kind of thing. But you also have like the triumphant, powerful like trumpets, you know, kind of going. And yeah, I love this song. Like that moment in the game, like after it is kind of all done, you're like, I need a cigarette after that, you know, like I don't even smoke. Like you're just kind of like, oh my God, that was crazy, you know?
Yeah. I do like, moments in games. I make that reference all the time to my wife. Like, I think I need a cigarette, and neither one of us has ever smoked or will ever smoke ever.
Right. Totally.
With that said, let's get into the YouTube comment oversharing corner for this episode. As a reminder, this is the section of the show where we read off any funny, memorable, interesting, or downright insane comments we've stumbled across while grabbing songs for this episode. I think for the first time ever, I did not grab any of these. These are all Seth picks.
Wow. Okay.
And two of them, I think at least two of them might be like all-timers, I think.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and read this first one then. This is from YouTube user Just a Truck Driver 1, commented on Heavy Price Paid 3 months ago. Even when Halo 3 came out, I refused to play it. I stayed on the OG Xbox playing Halo 2. And also he's got spaces between it and the comma, and also Halo 2 and the exclamation mark, which is very funny to me. But yeah, we actually talked about this. We covered this in the episode proper, that so many people were so into Halo 2 and didn't even feel a need to upgrade to the Xbox 360 that, again, it caused Microsoft problems down the road with not being able to upgrade Xbox Live as a service because too many people were playing Halo 2. So even though this is a silly comment, it is actually very relevant.
It is a loaded comment. This is like like Ernest Hemingway could have written this comment, because we can just we can sit here and like study this comment, the spaces between the punctuation and yet improper capitalization. He puts spaces between punctuation but refuses to capitalize the H in Halo 3 or 2, but does capitalize OG Xbox. It's insane.
Also, in that regard, even though I do spell Xbox with capital X and then lowercase box, it is properly like all capitalized, right? So there's also that aspect of this too, that he only capitalized the X.
I've seen that. I've seen X dash box, whatever. It's
I hate the dash. No. It's not Spider-Man. There's no hyphen.
Yeah. No, I don't like that. It's also crazy that this was 3 months ago, first of all.
Yeah, because when I first read this, I thought it said 3 years ago. Even that would have been crazy. But yeah, 3 months ago is ridiculous.
He was posting this in like January 2025. Like it was like in the year of our Lord, and also that it was on this song, this like beautiful, mournful song. He's like, by the way, hell yeah, I never played Halo 3. I refuse to play it.
He's just been driving a truck this whole time. Like, he was just too busy, and he just got back from a 20-year trip, and then he decided, oh, what's this YouTube thing? Let me go comment on my favorite Halo 2 song.
He is just a truck driver after all. Yeah, that's a good. There's a lot to unpack there. All right, well, the next comment here, also a fairly recent one from the only Monroney, which I like. I hope that's like his real name, or their real name. Commented on first movement of the Odyssey. Follow 11 months ago. They had to put one of the hardest slappers on that damn Banshee escort mission.
Yeah, reading you having these comments in here, that's how I learned that this was an escort mission where this song played, which is funny, but also, hardest slappers. I've never heard of that term being used for music before, but I think I like it.
I like it too. They had to put one of the hardest slappers on that damn Banshee escort mission.
What's that? There's like a Smash Bros. Like indie game. I think, is it Slap City or something? I think.
Oh,
like
maybe.
the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl devs. That's what they made before the Nickelodeon ones.
Oh,
that's how they got their name out there, and you could play as like a hot dog or something.
Huh.
So that's what I was thinking when I saw Hardest Slappers was Slap City. Maybe it's not even called Slap City, and maybe I'm just tired. I don't know, but
who knows?
We'll stick with that. For this next one, YouTube user Adam C3442 commented on Peril 12 years ago. Imagine Master Chief is sneaking around various Covenant bases and forts on his toes, walking right past aliens during the first minute of this. It's funny because like I understand what they mean, but it's also like I don't view it necessarily as like a sneaking thing. Again, this is the Enya sounding song.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's more like a ballet performance almost, or like interpretive dance performance, not like a Master Chief daintily sneaking around on his toes. It is funny imagining like someone in big clunky
like
spaceman
8 foot
armor,
tall space marine, yeah,
on his toes. I feel like your toes would break if you tried to just stand on your tippy toes while wearing this armor. Yeah, it's a cute comment.
It's just silly and funny. It's funny to imagine. I also kind of get it, like the doot 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 doot. Like I kind of understand it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of comments also talking about like, oh, this is like the Machinima song. Because a lot of people, when they were making like Halo Machinima, would just use this song because it's one of the few like strictly upbeat songs in Halo. Like,
yeah, you're right. I never thought about it before, but yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, like if you're gonna use like if you have an upbeat moment in a Machinima, you kind of have to go for this, like tonally. So this song got a lot of play as well, despite the fact that it's called Peril. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty good. YouTube user CrispyGFX commented on In Amber Clad 3 years ago, frustrating that this game and O'Donnell and Salvatori for that matter don't get more recognition. Genuinely one of the most magnificent and memorable soundtracks for anything, not just a game, it's transcendent. To which YouTube user Kriku replied, literally the most recognized game.
Yeah, to me this is like one of the most well-known games ever made. I mean, again, maybe there's an argument to be made that like nowadays people don't, but I don't know, man. You can't go off of like what kids are saying about Halo nowadays. Like, obviously kids that weren't around don't have the full context for this game, but yeah, like you talk to someone like born in like 1990 and before that, and everyone knows Halo 2 and the impact that it had. Like it is pretty crazy that someone made this comment.
To call Halo 2 or any Halo game underrated is insane.
Yeah.
Like, you're insane for saying that.
Yeah. It's truly baffling. I can't believe I'm the one that has to read this comment.
I love it.
YouTube user Psychomantis-Z08HF, which I do like that Psychomantis is in the name.
Yeah.
Commented on Impend 1 year ago, orgasmatic. I miss my younger years. And then in quotes, if I could turn back the hands of time, ... and then cites the quote to R. Kelly. And then we had YouTube user Junebug7117 replied, the F you mean orgasmatic. This is crazy, but I also, the craziest thing to me isn't even the phrase orgasmatic. To me, it is in 2024, like quoting R. Kelly.
The R. Kelly quote is insane. That is the most unhinged thing. Like, yeah, orgasmatic is kind of silly and funny and whatever, and they're just trying to be cute, but like to have, okay, like this is such a loaded comment. Orgasmatic, okay, dumb, stupid, funny. I miss my younger years. Okay, like kind of sad, like kind of nostalgic comment you would expect to see. But then, if I could turn back the hands of time, R. Kelly?
Yeah, if I could turn back the hands of time, ... in quotes, and then in parentheses, R. Kelly. And again, I say this as someone, like, I listen to a lot of R. Kelly, like, a decade to 15 years ago. Happy People is one of my favorite songs ever, but I can't listen to it anymore. It genuinely, like, that song is ruined, you know? Like, there's just a certain level of, again, I realize some people are able to separate the art from the artist better than I can. I mean, it also depends on the context of the situation and what happened or whatever, but like, even if I was someone that was still regularly listening to R. Kelly music, I don't think I'd be quoting anything and then citing it to R. Kelly anywhere, ever.
From the great sage R. Kelly, these wise words. If I could
and also,
turn
it's just
back...
such a basic quote, too. It's not even anything.
It's not even like unique. You could have quoted anybody. It could have been Cyndi Lauper, if I could turn back time or whatever. You know? It could have been anything, but you went with R. Kelly. And that means that when this person listened to Impend, R. Kelly popped in their head.
I wasn't thinking about that. You know, that's a whole extra layer of deranged on top of this. So thank you, Psycho Mantis. I now know you truly are Psycho Mantis if you have this level of like, psychosis going on in the YouTube comments. But that is going to be it for the YouTube comments on the Halo 2 episode of Bit Harmony. We do have a few voicemails to get into, so let's get going.
All right, let's go ahead and hit them. We have quite a few voicemails, actually, so thanks to everybody for sending them in. Let's go ahead and play this first one from Parker.
Hi, it's me again, Parker. Check out a parody YouTube channel called Silver Gunner. There's actually pretty good ones, like a parody, and there's an ongoing story. What's up, the Silver Gunner YouTube channel? And I love Silver Gunner. Bring on Joke Explainer 7000 onto the podcast as a special guest. And someday, also, check out the trailer music for an upcoming mascot horror game called Pinata Puppy World. And check out the EP from Taaryn. That's Taaryn. The EP titled Tales from the Thunderdome. And that's it. Bye. I hope this voice message finds you well. Bye.
Thank you for the voicemail, Parker. Also, I love with Parker's voicemails always the very pointed like click of the phone turning off. I don't know why.
I like that sound too. Yeah,
it's a very satisfying, good sound. Do you know anything about Silver Gunner? I mean, I'd stumbled on their videos before and their uploads, but I didn't know that there's a whole story going on.
I had no idea there was a whole... I just thought they were like somebody that just uploaded like... wasn't this the person who got like a DMCA or like a takedown from Nintendo or something like that?
I thought so, but then I also remember there's like Gilva Stunner. Like there's other... I don't know if it's the same person. I've always been confused about this, but I genuinely didn't know that there's actual like story going on, which is interesting because even when you go to Silver Gunner's YouTube channel, most of like the recent uploads are all just straight up like video game music uploads. Like it's not like, as far as I'm aware, I didn't see many like storyline related videos. And yeah, I went to like, I didn't know what Parker was talking about with Joke Explainer 7000. That's also part of the Silver Gunner lore. I don't know what part of it is, but it is part of it. So yeah, Parker, I've been on Silver Gunner's channel before, but yeah, I had no idea that there was any kind of ongoing story happening here.
No, I had no clue. Parker introduced me to a lot of things. This time around, as it turns out, Parker really kind of dropped some knowledge on us this episode.
The Pinata Puppy World trailer is actually pretty cool, and the music was actually sick. Like the music is genuinely good, especially in the beginning. I found It basically looks like a Five Nights at Freddy's clone, which makes me like a little less interested in it.
Yeah.
Or I should say kind of like a lot less interested in it, but
Yeah.
the vibe and the tone of the beginning is actually really striking. It isn't until the end of the trailer where they reveal like the Five Nights at Freddy's copy animatronic character that I'm just like, oh, okay, this is one of those.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. It does look interesting. I had literally never heard of it before. The music was kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, there's like a million of these now, right? There's like the Poppy's Playtime and, you know, Bendy and the Ink Machine and all of these kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's, like adjacent things.
I've known of Bendy for like a decade, but I've never looked up anything. I don't know anything about it. It's one of these. Is that what it is?
Well, yeah. So there's like this contingent of games that are kind of like, you know, like how do we take like children's mascot kind of thing, animatronic or no, and make it like kind of creepy, like creepy pasta kind of vibes, you know? And kids seem to be like younger kids and teenagers seem to be very drawn to this. God, I have never felt older than I do right now. Like this seems to really resonate with the youth. This idea of just like, you know, children's mascots turn creepy. And I think Bendy and the Ink Machine is one of those things, like a children's mascot made into, you know, something dark and violent or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen like merchandise of Bendy for a really long time, but I had no idea what it was. So that's, I guess, kind of interesting. I always just took it as like streaming is so much bigger with people like a decade or so younger than me, and that these games are so streamable, like for like easy jump scare stuff, and like they're cheap and they come out real quick. Like I remember Five Nights at Freddy's was having like 2 games coming out a year at one point, you know, so like that's why they blew up, because I've seen footage of Five Nights at Freddy's and I'm not impressed in like any way at all. But I understand why, if you have like a community of people watching you, why people would have fun watching someone play this, you know, like I get it, even if it's not for me.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff like this at this point. There was one that came out like somewhat recently called Amanda the Adventurer that was kind of like this. There's the Garten of Banban or whatever is like this. Dude, there's a ton. I mean, even Choo Choo Charles is kind of in this, you know, kind of area. My Friendly Neighborhood, which I saw at the last GDQ, weirdly. Anyway, there's like, yeah, I mean, there's got to be like a dozen or more of these kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's adjacent things. Yeah.
Choo Choo Charles at least feels like it's like purposely goofing on the concept while still being one of these. But yeah, it was interesting finding out both of these things, the Silver Gunner thing and the existence of the puppy pinata world. I'm intrigued by what I've seen about it. It's going to be something I at least keep my eye on at least a little bit.
Yeah, Parker just came in and dropped some knowledge and bounced. Like that was what he did.
He clicked out of here. Yeah,
he got out of here. All right. Well, we have our next voicemail is from Spriteless. So let's hear from Spriteless.
Hello, it's Harmony of the All End Media Co-op. This is Spriteless again. When I listened to Halo music, it was surprisingly orchestral and uplifting, but I haven't played first-person shooters since they got high-tech enough to give me motion sick, so I was just expecting like so cool. I am glad I'm going to be able to listen to something, well, maybe calming, or at least not going to make me put the pedal to the metal on the show. And so you say Streets of Rage 4 has the best elevator level? Well, Exit the Gungeon has the most elevator level. So, there. Okay, ta-ta for now.
I do think it's very, very funny that both you and Spriteless did a cappella versions of the Doom
That
theme
rules,
in this
yeah.
episode.
We should just do like a mashup of me and Spriteless doing that.
And this was the voicemail I was referring to at the top of the episode, where I feel like there's a whole contingent of people that aren't like that didn't play Halo or are only aware of it on the periphery, that like they hear first person shooter and they're probably not expecting something like this. And I think it's cool that like this is what the show is all about, right? It's
Totally.
Obviously Halo is very popular, but like the music isn't as ubiquitous to video game music as like Zelda music is. That's why we
Right.
still haven't done a Zelda episode. Like, what's the point kind of thing? But I do think there is value in something like this, a Halo episode.
Yep, agreed. And I mean, I'm glad that you liked it, Spriteless. Just some of the stuff that they heard from Halo. It's cool, to introduce somebody to this stuff that they were surprised by or weren't expecting. Yeah, that's the whole point of this, man. Like that's that's definitely a big mission of ours with the show. So that was really cool. I've never played. Is it Exit the Gungeon? Is that what they were talking about? Never played it. But I do like the rebuttal of like the best elevator level combined with like the most elevator level. I can only imagine what that implies.
So I've never played Exit, but I have played Enter the Gungeon. It was always a game that I felt like I should like more than I ended up liking it.
Sure.
Like on paper, everything is there for me to like it, but I just never fully gelled with it. Exit the Gungeon is like, it takes place like the whole point of Enter the Gungeon is you get down to the center of the Gungeon, and then Exit the Gungeon is like the immediate aftermath of your character having to get out of the Gungeon. To be clear, Enter the Gungeon is like a roguelite top-down shooter kind of thing. And then Exit the Gungeon, I don't know exactly because I've never played it, but it's a little $10 game, I think. I think it like shadow dropped in a Nintendo Direct at some point.
Okay.
And like, I think you're just like riding an elevator back up the Gungeon to get out after you've successfully plundered the Gungeon. So like the whole game is taking place on an elevator, I believe. And it's like you're defending your position, I think is what's going on. So if my understanding is correct, yes, Spriteless is right. It is the most elevator in a game that I can possibly think of.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for sending that in, Spriteless. We've got one last voicemail and a bot harmony. So let's go ahead and get into this last voicemail from Shy Guy.
Hey, Bit Harmony. It's Shy Guy. And I'm driving in my car. Good times. Just finished the Streets of Rage. I almost said Streets of 4 Rage, but Streets of Rage 4 episode. Amazing game. Amazing episode. Kind of hit a point where I expect all of your episodes to be amazing, but still want to appreciate it and not take that for granted. I think another factor of why I liked this game so much, besides its obvious quality you guys highlighted and expounded upon so well, is that I had a nostalgia for beat-em-ups. Being an 80s and 90s kid, like everything was good guy versus bad guy. And the only way good guy could win was to beat up bad guy, right? You had G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, even all the action movies. It was like the only way to victory was for good guy to beat up bad guy, and then to be able to do that with friends in these beat 'em up games, right? They were initially at the arcades. You loved to spend your quarters together and see how far you could get, and the idea of teaming up and helping each other out. But when those games then made it home, I mean, it blew our little minds back in the day. Like, this arcade quality game is now at home, and I just loved it. It was just some of the most fun we could have. Saturday nights, pizza, and beat 'em ups, whether we were renting them or owned them. So to see so much quality given to Streets of Rage 4, kind of bring that back, because there's no shortage of that genre anymore, but the quality isn't always there. But man, they really did an homage to not only the series, but I think the genre in general. But obviously they did more than an homage. They made the greatest one ever made. I really loved hearing you guys go on about it. It's fun to hear people be positive and enjoying things. I just feel the same way. Absolutely love that game and the music. Well done.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Shy Guy. We appreciate it. Co-signed on all of that.
Yeah, thanks, Shy Guy. Yeah, appreciate the kind words. Also, it's funny. Like we did talk about Streets of Rage 4 kind of being, I don't know, like it was like a passing on the torch of like the greatest beat 'em up of all time or whatever to Streets of Rage 4. We also talked so much about this potential movie coming out from the John Wick writer and creator.
Yeah.
And yet we didn't really touch on the fact that beat 'em ups, especially in the 90s when like graphics were getting so much better, they really are kind of the equivalent of like big dumb action movies back in the day. And
right.
And what Shy Guy touched on of like action movies, I don't know, that there was something more simple to them back then. Like even Marvel movies, like sometimes they have like too much stuff going on. Like they're too concerned with, I shouldn't say sometimes, oftentimes they let like their own world building get in the way of like making a good movie, It's just funny to me that Shy Guy, until I listened to this voicemail, I didn't realize that we never really connected those disparate threads, despite the fact that we talked so extensively about both the movie and like beat 'em ups in general.
Yeah, it's interesting. And also like, like it was nice to hear Shy Guy's perspective of, and yeah, Shy Guy kind of taps into like the nostalgia of that genre. And yeah, like he talks about, G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles and stuff. That definitely is a big touchstone for a lot of people, especially around our age group and people a little older than us. Yeah, that all definitely hits and resonates and is present in Streets of Rage 4, but yet you can also play it removed from all of that. Because I mentioned during the episode, like, I don't have a huge fondness for the genre, but yet, like, that game kind of just transcends all of that. Like, it's just a good video game. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I said it on the episode, but yeah, for me, Streets of Rage 4 is the best beat 'em up ever because it transcends beyond the beat 'em up genre and just becomes this super good action game on its own because of like balancing out how you're using the supers to get iframes and stuff. I need to stop talking about it because I only just got out of my only playing Streets of Rage 4 phase again. And if I keep talking, I'm going to get back into it. And I've got too much other stuff to do right now. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, we have one final thing. Thank you, Shy Guy, for the voicemail. We've got one final bot harmony. So let's hear what Bot Harmony has to say this episode.
Hi there. When listeners search for video game music on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, BitHarmony, a video game music podcast, appears as result 1. But did you know it's also result number 34 for support on Patreon? Result number 38 for yokai.
So this one was kind of cheating. It wasn't a text that came in. It was a spam email that we got, but I just really lost it at that we're the 38th result for people searching for yokai. So you and I did test it, and yeah, BitHarmony does come up very, very high on the results of when you search for video game music. Maybe I'm an idiot. I didn't realize there were this many video game music podcasts out there until I did this. Like there really are a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot, and that's what I'm saying, y'all. Like you have to boost us up in those ratings. We need to be the number one thing people find when they search for video game music. That's why the reviews are so important. That's what this is in reference to.
It's funny because when we talked about it at the start of the show, I was thinking about this spam email and stuff. But like, even though it's spam, it is accurate because I also did search for yokai, and sure enough, we were in the 30s for yokai just because we did the Yokai Watch episode. That was the one my wife did with me while Seth was busy moving. I was mostly just shocked that there were 37 other things showing up above us. And it was funny because I expected a lot of video game related podcasts, but only a couple were there, like Axe of the Blood God, like the RPG podcast that Cap Bailey does, like that.
Yeah.
There was a Yokai Watch episode of that showed up or whatever. Genuinely, most of the things showing up above BitHarmony when you search for yokai were podcasts seemingly about actual yokai stories and stuff.
Right.
And it made me very curious, but I haven't had the time to listen to any of them yet. But yeah, I kind of want to try and listen to one now.
Yeah, I kind of want to check out the #1 yokai podcast and like see what's up with that, man. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta make sure, y'all. It is your sworn duty, if you've not reviewed BitHarmony yet, to make sure that BitHarmony is the #1 video game music podcast when you search for that. All right, that
gotta
is in
finish
your
the
hands. Yeah, finish the fight. That's
or at
right.
least get us up to like number 30 for yokai.
Yeah, I don't need to be the #1 yokai podcast, but if we could be in like the top 20 yokai podcasts, I'd be good with that.
Okay, if we did become the top yokai podcast, I think I'd be even more impressed with that than if we became the #1 video game music podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you all have the power to finish the fight. Yeah, just as a quick reminder, you can send in voicemails a couple of different ways. You can email them to us at bitharmonypod@gmail.com, or you can call in to our hotline at 216-230-8540. That number again is 216-230-8540. Keep them less than 3 minutes unless you want to get kicked off. It's funny. You could send in multiple if you want to. You can really send in whatever you want. It doesn't have to be in relation to the current episode or an upcoming episode. Send in whatever you want. We'll hear it. We'll see it, and we'll play it on the show. And you can send text to that number as well if you want BitHarmony to pick it up. But yeah, we want the voicemails. Send in the voicemails.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I guess with all of that being said, should I thank the patrons?
Please do.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you so much to everybody who supports us over there on Patreon. It's patreon.com/allinmedia. We have links to the show notes for that as well. And among early access and a bunch of other perks, you get shout outs here at the end of the episode. So let's go ahead and do that. Thank you to our Triforce tier supporters like Adam Caparello, Bowza, Dan and Luma, Danielina Hosa, Foolish Fuji, John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Ligerwoods330, and Uncle Randy. And thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters, Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, SAZ, Gamer Jason, Liam D, Marcus O'Neill, Phelan Ward, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, and Sparky. We appreciate y'all so much. Head over to Patreon, and again, don't do it on your iOS app, do it on the desktop site. You can check out the 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier and get all that stuff. And we do have a mini episode of this show hitting Patreon next week. So you're going to want to do that if you want to hear the Halo 3 ODST episode. That's only on Patreon. So check out the Patreon, and we really appreciate that support.
I'm excited to hear us do the Halo 3 ODST episode.
Me
just
too.
because I know it's much more like sad jazzy than the rest of the Halo soundtracks are, and I'm looking forward to seeing what songs you pick for that one and hearing more about Halo 3 ODST. So yeah, I think that'll be a worthwhile one to check out on the Patreon if you are not already on the Patreon. As for next full episode, that's going to be going live, or should be going live, on May 18th. That is going to be the Monster Hunter Mash. This is going to be us just cherry picking Monster Hunter songs from across the whole series. We're not going to extensively talk about any individual game in the series, at least probably not too much, I would imagine. We're just going to play a bunch of Monster Hunter music. We kind of, hey, you know what? This season of the show has been very, very fun, but it's also been a lot of work, and we haven't done one of these more goof-offy episodes in a while. So
a layup.
This is kind of for our sake before we close the season out with Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
That is the following main episode and the last one before we take our break. So again, if you're wanting your voicemail about Monster Hunter to be played, get that in pretty soon. If you're wanting your voicemail about Final Fantasy VI to be played, you can get that in for a few more weeks yet. And if you send it in early, I can just save it for the Final Fantasy VI episode. But I think that's all the final housekeeping we've got. All we have left now is the haikus.
Yeah, let's get into it. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I guess I have to explain this one a little bit. Maybe I'll wait till after. Let me read it first, and then I'll explain because I don't think it's going to make sense to anyone except maybe Wilkins. So here we go. Chirps in Jim's basement. 1v1 J-Rod, you clown. Ego death of Mark. This was based off of a real story where we were all hanging out in our buddy Jim's basement. This is not during the Halo 2 days. This is probably around like 2011-ish, so a good few years after Halo 2 was even in vogue. A bunch of us were hanging out, and J-Rod was the best Halo 2 player we knew, and then someone else that was not part of the regular hangout group came over and was talking some trash. I don't remember the exact context. Maybe Wilkins remembers, but it literally escalated to hooking up an original Xbox and 1v1ing in Halo 2, I think with just the energy swords on. So it was literally just a duel first to 20 kills with energy swords in Halo 2, and it was very funny. It has lived in my mind for the last decade plus. And it was also very funny because there was genuine tension in the room. Like before, like people were mad at each other, and that's why they were 1v1ing. And then afterwards, it was a very masculine, like we solved our problems through violence. Like J-Rod and Mark were cooler with each other after J-Rod obliterated him.
That rules. That is so like that's the perfect like Halo multiplayer story. That is the power of Halo multiplayer. I love that. And I also love that your haiku is very evocative of like your Halo 2 experience. You know, like yours is primarily by way of like multiplayer stories and stuff. And I, a lot of multiplayer for me too, but I, especially now as an adult, really engage with it from a, story and thematic standpoint. And so my haiku does lean into that as well. So here goes. The danger in doubt, dredging truth out of blind faith, were it so easy.
Wow, that delivery on the final line, were it so easy. It was very good. Very, very voice act. It's almost like you do this.
You have to. So, were it so easy, this is a little bit loaded here. First of all, I was delighted to find out that was 5 syllables. And that I could work that in here. That is a famous quote from Arbiter in Halo 3. At the beginning of Halo 3, like Chief sees Arbiter, he immediately like springs into action and puts like a pistol under his head, and Sergeant Johnson's like, all right, like hold up, like he's here to help. And he says something like, I don't remember the exact quote that Johnson says, but he says something to the effect of like, we got enough, to worry about without you two trying to kill each other. And Arbiter just says, were it so easy, and it's such a cool line. It's so loaded. It's so like, there's so much weight to it. Keith David absolutely rules. So yeah, I had to work that in some way to my haiku.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I also like that we had stories that we had to expand on to explain our haikus.
Nothing better than a haiku you have to, painstakingly explain.
It's funny because I genuinely had no idea what I was going to do with my haiku for Halo 2 just because I haven't played it in like 20 years. And that just came to my mind this morning. I'm like, I have to do this. And yeah, much like you, I always am very pleased when I can like fit stuff in. 1v1 J-Rod, you clown, big 7 syllables. That made me very happy.
That's sick.
This morning. Anyway, thank you all for listening and hanging out. Again, if you liked this Halo 2 talk, join the Patreon. We've got a Halo 3 ODST episode going up sometime next week. Taking you out this episode is Halo 2 Mjolnir Mix by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatori, featuring Steve Vai. We had to do it to you. We had to play a version of the Halo main theme in here somewhere.
Yep, had to close out with this. I mean, Steve Vai being on the guitar, it just is exactly what you want. When you come into Halo 2, like this version of the theme song being the sequel to the first version of the theme song, it's just what you're looking for. It is the juice that you want out of this song.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
That's right. Famous George Lucas quote. That's right.
Yeah. We talked a lot about Star Wars, or at least referenced Star Wars a lot this episode, weirdly. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to be Halo 2 Mjolnir Mix from, shockingly, Halo 2. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Orgasmatic. I miss my younger years.